Many of the written works covered in this podcast are older and contain dated language that is problematic by today's standards. This episode of Liquor and Literature deals with depictions of racism, physical abuse, sexual assault, and suicide. We strive to discuss these issues in ways that will not alienate or suppress others, but will be covering themes that may not be suitable for children. Also, cuss words are a part of our regular vocabulary and drinks will be had. So, keep that in mind if you are sensitive to liquored up loudmouths. Welcome to Liquor and Literature. We are a podcast, a book club, and a happy hour. My name is Lauren.
I'm Amber.
I'm Sam.
And welcome, one and all listeners, to this episode. Basically, every month we pick a book to read, and we discuss that book, and we also talk about the author, and we do a movie adaptation, and we also do a drink pairing and a food pairing. And also, folks, the episodes come out at the end of the month, so if you want to get kind of like wrapped your mind around like what the book is about, follow us on social media because we post throughout the month about the food and drink and the author and everything. So Liquor Literature Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. Mm-hmm. And with that, also spoilers. There's always spoilers because we're literally talking about a book. So if you'd rather read the book first, go ahead and do that and come back to this, or just keep on listening, whatever you want to do. This month was Amber's book pick. Amber, do you want to enlighten us with what you picked?
So I picked the book Kindred by Octavia E. Butler. We hadn't done a sci-fi book yet, and so it seemed due time. I really liked this one.
Yeah.
The main character, Dana, just starts suddenly going back in time on an accident. She keeps going to 1815, but she's from, I think it's 1976, yeah?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's usually lives in time era of 1976. She keeps zapping back in time to 1815 and kind of seems tied to this family, and comes to find out that that's her like relatives somehow. And so she's trying to figure out what she needs to do and why she keeps getting pulled back. And it just kind of talks about how difficult it is. So Dana is also a Black woman, and she keeps getting pulled back into 1815. So of course that's going to be problematic for a lot of reasons.
Not good times, folks.
No. So it was a really interesting read. I really enjoyed it. So yeah, we're going to be talking about that today.
Well, and it's an author that all of us had never heard of before. Mm-hmm. So I liked it because I'd never even...
the name.
Huh?
I recognized
You recognized the name?
Yeah. So one of the reasons that I picked the book was I was like, I don't know why I know that name, but I know that name.
Oh, okay.
Couldn't have told you anything she'd written. And actually, even after doing the author study, I was like, I still don't know why I know that name. Probably came up at some point in one of my literature classes or something. She has some very interesting writings. I was like reading off some of them to Ben earlier today. He was like, "What the fuck? What?" I was like, "It's a story about this," and he's like, "What the?"
She has a lot of grandiose ideas, I guess.
It's all sci-fi. She was a sci-fi
cool.
writer.
Yeah,
and so almost everything was just very weird. Like there was one that she wrote about men who incubated alien eggs or something. Yeah, and Ben was like, "The fuck?" And I was like, "That sounds up your alley. Don't even start with me, sir."
So
that's why I like sci-fi, because
they're like human seahorses.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Ugh. I don't like watching videos of seahorses giving birth. It's just like whooshoo, whooshoo. They're just like shooting all these babies out of their belly.
They're like doing really hard Kegels. Boo!
But they look so cute when they come out. But I'm like, dude, that looks uncomfortable.
Yeah,
but
it's kind of rough.
I mean, childbirth is very comfortable, as you all like anyone who's experienced it.
One of the many reasons I will never have children.
I
don't want to be a male seahorse. All right, we went from Octavia Butler to seahorses.
Or a woman human.
Or a woman human.
Or a human woman, rather.
We've had a couple drinks already, folks. All right. And with that, speaking of drinks, Sam, do you want to kick off our drink pairing section of the podcast episode?
So we all collectively decided to name this drink the Harvester because we literally just made the name up like before we started recording.
Took us fucking 20 minutes, but we did it, folks.
Yeah, didn't have anything, and I was like, I ain't got any ideas.
The harvest.
So my kind of thought process on this drink was like, what's something like very Southern? And I was like, peanuts.
Peanuts.
Boiled penis.
Peanuts.
When we're thinking of names, Sam just goes, boiled penis. Oh, peanuts.
I
boiled
didn't
penis.
say penis. I said peanuts.
Sure.
Peanuts. As
Boiled penis.
some peanuts.
That's what we should have named
Nuts
this
and
drink.
penis.
It was fantastic.
Yeah, so, yeah. All right. So, peanuts, peanut butter, you know, George Washington Carver, he was a black man. He is associated with peanut butter, but apparently he did not create peanut butter.
No, he just found like many uses for peanuts.
Mm-hmm.
Peanut butter wasn't one of
That
them.
sounded like you said penis.
Many uses for peanuts, not penises.
Or peanut.
Peni.
Never
There are also
mind.
many uses. There are also many uses for penises too.
I was gonna say
I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, so peanuts, peanut butter. And then I was like, all right, the book takes place in Maryland when she goes and travels back to 1815. And I was like, okay, what is a big, like, fruit that's, like, produced in Maryland? And apples was one of the things. And I was like, peanut butter and apples is freaking delicious.
Mm-hmm. Yum.
Let's try and make a drink out of it. So that was a thought process. And it was not particularly easy because I chose a peanut butter whiskey, and that is an interesting and overpowering flavor.
Mm-hmm.
So the recipe for the Harvester is 1 1/4 ounces of Screwball peanut butter whiskey, 1 ounce of lemon juice, 1 1/2 ounces of what I used is Simply Squeezed Crisp Apple Real Infused Exotics Apple Puree Infused Syrup. That's a lot, but it's just basically tastes like applesauce. I wonder if you could actually even use applesauce, like, and like really pulverize it to it's a little bit thinner.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's an apple puree syrup. So 1 1/2 ounces of that. And then 4 dashes of cranberry bitters. I used the Fee Brothers cranberry bitters. And you're like, cranberry. But the Screwball whiskey is literally so sweet that everything else had to be a little bit more acidic. Yeah, and sour to try to even remotely balance it because it's a lot. And the apple puree is sweet. Like I said, it tastes like applesauce to me, but
Well, and it's also the green apple too, which is more tart.
more tart.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had to balance out the whiskey with like the lemon juice and the cranberry bitters and things like that. So it's more balanced that way. I still feel like that maybe it could be tweaked a little bit more, but it's, I don't know.
I liked it a lot. I was shocked how much I liked it, actually.
The weak-tongued bitch approves.
Yeah,
and
of a
she-
whiskey drink.
She does
Shockingly.
not like whiskey.
I
so.
don't, and I also am not a big peanut butter. Like, I am very particular about peanut butter. You can ask Ben. There's only one type. It is Jif.
That is the supreme peanut butter.
But also, I just don't usually like it as a flavor. It's like a weird thing for me. And so whenever Sam was like, I'm going to do a whiskey peanut butter drink, I was like, no. and then she got me to drink it and I was like, oh, this is a girly drink.
Mm-hmm.
Yummy, yummy. And then they had me do a shot of it and I was like, I could actually see me being able to drink this and be fine. By the way, not fine.
No.
Not in the head fine,
Yeah. But fine.
Your tongue would
be
be
able
fine.
to tolerate
Yeah.
it.
Your
Yeah.
weak tongue would
My
be fine.
weak-tongued bitchness would be alright with it.
Yeah, taking a shot of it. Like, I have had a handful of flavored whiskeys, and I'm always like, this, I need to get more of their stuff. Because, like, I think this is the first time I've ever had a Screwball whiskey, and it's good.
It was the first time I ever had it, ever did anything with it.
It's very smooth. Like, you don't even
It's
need a
super
chaser
smooth.
for the... And it's not like... I was saying after we took the shot, I'm like, it's not like Fireball where you literally feel like you're drinking something you're not supposed to drink. Like
chemicals,
it's like, I taste the peanut butter and I taste the whiskey, but it was very smooth.
There was no burn.
Yeah, there's no burn to it. But I will say, if you were allergic to peanuts or at all, do not drink this because it has peanuts in the whiskey. It says it on the bottle, so just fair warning. But I didn't actually look them up to know for sure, but I'm guessing they just soak the whiskey in peanut butter.
You said they fat wash it with the peanut.
Yeah,
butter
so it's like
fat
fat washing.
I'd never heard that term before.
It's a type of infusion that you can do with liquor, and sometimes now even they'll like top drinks with like oils, which I think
I feel like you're asking for a butthole.
I've not eruption. I have not tried one of them because I'm like so like offended by it a little bit.
Yeah,
but, like. I would, if I had one that sounded good at a place, I would maybe try it just to try it. But personally, I've never made one. I've never had one. And
oil and alcohol just don't seem to be good together. But you know what? I've made worse decisions in my life.
I've made plenty of worse decisions that I put in my mouth. So, I mean.
Haven't we all?
I mean.
Boiled penis.
Yeah. Actually, I'd rather have boiled penis than unwashed, unboiled penis. So.
True.
Yeah.
The more sanitary option, folks. Boiled penis.
But yeah, the Harvester. I know, it's pretty. For me, it's a drink that I can have like one of because I feel like it's a little too sweet for me. I like a little bit more sour or floral kind of drinks.
Mm-hmm.
I also garnished it with a Pink Lady apple slice.
Oh, yeah.
I could have like bruleed it or something, but man, I am fucking lazy.
No, it looked good though, and it was good. And actually, if you like put the apple in the drink and let it sit there it's good.
Mm-hmm.
It's good. Just 12 minutes into recording this podcast episode, we decided to take yet another shot of Screwball whiskey. So stay tuned. We will be back soon.
So, I wasn't able to read originally on the back of the label of Screwball. You can see it through the back of the bottle.
The more you drink, the more you can read.
The more, exactly.
Which usually doesn't happen, right? But
and the bottle's almost gone, it turns out.
Only halfway. I mean, she already drank a lot before we got here.
I did not.
You had to do a lot of taste tests.
I did about
a couple.
Maybe 8 ounces.
The fact that you had to think about it.
I had to add them up. I'm not good at mental math. I got that dyscalculia. Don't hate me.
I'm not judging.
So it was about 8 ounces, I think, before I got here. We don't typically finish a bottle between me, like, making a drink.
Lauren, Amber, yeah.
Trying it
Amber's
out.
sucking these down, dude.
For the podcast, and then just, like, throughout the podcast. Usually we'll have one. I know one drink Amber didn't even drink. She tasted and was like, nope.
No, thank you.
And Lauren drank it for her.
I'm giving this to Lauren. And I was like, I will take it. Because I
appreciate your efforts, Sam, but no thank you.
My tongue does not appreciate this. So the Screwball whiskey has apparently just made us all very happy and enjoyed all of it. But they are a husband and wife team that have made this. And dear God, it is good. It is so fucking good. I was so pleasantly surprised. But the husband is a Cambodian refugee and the wife is an entrepreneur. So I'm super glad that I was able to, we were able to drink down the bottle to read the story on the back of the label. And I was like, oh, I'm pleasantly surprised. I love this. So like shout out to Steve and Brittany because thank you for making such an amazing liquor. And it was very affordable as well.
Shout out to Screwball.
Hey, you got us through the night.
I normally don't like
Screwball for a few screwballs.
Yep. Amber doesn't really like whiskey.
Named.
Lauren's not in love with flavored whiskeys.
Yes.
And everybody was real happy. So
And we were having straight shots of it and it was yum.
Yeah,
Yeah.
straight shots of it
Amber
is
normally
very
doesn't
delightful.
do shots, folks, and she's done 2.
Okay, for the mocktail version, you can use the spiritless Kentucky 74 NA bourbon whiskey. If you basically marinate smooth peanut butter with it for, I don't know, probably like a week. It should have that peanut butter flavor to it. Or just be weird and put some peanut butter straight up in that glass. I mean, whatever you want to do.
If you're not patient.
No one's going to stop you.
Sometimes I like a drink I could chew.
You get a snack and a drink in the
Yes.
same.
Some protein.
Yeah. Then obviously the lemon juice and the apple puree are good to go. There's no alcohol in those. And if you are very strict on your alcohol intake, you can use the cranberry bitters from Cherry River. It is a NA bitter. Now, that's the only one I was able to find. They look like they're a Canadian company, so hopefully they will ship to the US. I'm not entirely for sure, but they are from Quebec.
You know what? Live dangerously. Put some peanut butter in your drink.
No judgments here.
Yes. I love peanut butter.
Because I would totally put it straight up in a drink. I don't even care.
Straight up. Well, thank you, Sam, for that lovely drink pairing.
You're welcome.
I've had 2, and they were quite lovely. All right, Amber. You want to kick things off?
So Octavia Estelle Butler.
Oh, I like Estelle.
Mhm.
I like that name.
She was born June 22nd, 1947 in Pasadena, California, to Laurice James Butler, who died when she was 3.
No.
Yep. And Octavia Margaret Guy. And she was raised by her mother and her grandmother, whose name was Estella. So she was named after her mother and her grandmother.
Oh,
Mhm.
I like that
cute.
name.
She had a lot of jobs over the years. She was a telemarketer, a dishwasher, and my personal favorite, a potato chip inspector.
Oh, I would love that job.
I don't think I would, but I thought it was a really interesting. I'm like, there's too much green on this one. Fuck it.
Does
Does
she
she get to
She had
eat
that on her
them?
resume.
Yes.
It's like,
I was like, interesting.
Yeah, you
Okay.
probably don't get to eat them, but
that's sad and a waste.
I was a professional potato chip inspector.
So she was the first published Black female science fiction writer.
Woo!
Yeah.
That's impressive.
That's
So
pretty
super
good.
cool.
That's
Super cool.
awesome.
So I'm going to kind of go back a little bit, talk about her childhood. Well, I'm going to talk about a couple of things here. So Estella, her grandmother, raised 7 children on a plantation, but she was paid a little bit, and she actually moved out west during the Great Migration in the early 1920s. She taught Octavia Margaret, so Octavia Butler's mother, how to read and write. Octavia Margaret worked as a day laborer, and she read Octavia Butler bedtime stories until she was 6. And then she said, all right, here's the book. Now you read. So I thought it was a really cool thing, though, or I don't know if it's cool, but it would have probably been a really interesting time to be a Black woman. Not that I have any experience with that, but considering that her grandmother lived on a plantation, and she didn't say she was like slavery. It wasn't like that kind of like, but she said it wasn't far from it. So
she was probably free, but
she was free, but
still
still pretty
a lot
much
of racism.
Yeah, a lot of racism, that kind of thing.
Shocking.
And then her mother, who was, had her and probably lived mostly in the 30s to 40s, like most of her adult life was probably in that time period. And then Octavia Butler was actually 18 in 1965 at the height of the civil rights movement, which I thought was probably a really interesting thing for her.
A dynamic, yeah.
Yeah, like I and probably pretty inspirational for a lot of her writing.
Yep.
Because she did a lot of strong female Black women for her lead characters. So I thought that was really interesting. So Butler went by Junie, which was short for Junior at home.
That's cute.
Yep. And then whenever she was like older and like out in the world, she went by Estelle or Estella, like outside of her home. So she was bullied as an adolescent, and she actually considered suicide during her adolescence because of it. She wrote stories to fight loneliness, and she said, "I needed my fantasies to shield me from the world," which
That's
I thought
sad.
was interesting and kind of probably the reason that a lot of people write fantasy and read fantasy for that.
Yeah, it's
for that
escapism.
matter.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean, even just reading in general is escapism.
Yeah.
Mhm. She never told an aspiring writer that they should give up, rather that they should learn, study, observe, and persist, which I thought was cool. So she went to Clarion Workshop for sci-fi writers. She, her education was at California State University, Pasadena City College, University of California at Los Angeles. Her mother actually gave up having some dental work completed so that she could go to the Clarion Workshop,
Aw.
which is something that I thought was worth mentioning because that's not something you hear about really too often anymore. But it was, I mean, that's probably a big inspiration and probably why she probably did persist so hard.
Yeah.
I know whenever somebody gives something up for me, I feel like I need to prove.
She saw the sacrifices her mom
Yes.
made. Yep.
Yeah.
And dental work is expensive. I just had a
Yes.
bunch done, and I was like probably just paid almost $1,000 to have everything done.
Oof.
Like, and let's be honest, dental pain is like some of the worst pain
Yeah.
there is. So
Yep.
she,
It's bone pain.
yeah.
She won several awards. She won a Hugo Award in 1984, which was like one of the first ones that she won, for a short story called Speech Sounds. She won a Hugo and a Nebula Award for Blood Child. And in 2000, she received a PIN Award for Lifetime Achievement. She won several other awards as well. She was awarded a MacArthur Foundation Fellowship, and she was the first sci-fi writer awarded that. I thought that was really neat. I have a quote here. "I can write about ideal me's. I can write about the women I wish I was or the women I sometimes feel like. I don't think I've ever written about the woman I am, though. That's the woman I read and write to get away from. She has become a victim of her upbringing, a victim of her fears, a victim of her poverty, spiritual and financial. She is a victim of herself. She must climb out of herself and make her fate. How can she do this?" And I thought that was an interesting quote because we all kind of do that, I think, in a way. We're always kind of plotting for the next step. Like, I'm here right now and I want to be there. How do I get to there? We do that in our heads a lot. And we kind of make ourselves goals and stuff. But this was, she writes what she really wants to be so that she can become it. I thought that was, that was interesting. She sold her first book in December of 1975. It was Pattern Master. And one of the things that she wrote in her journal is, "Poverty is a constant, convenient, and unfortunately valid excuse for inaction." And I thought that was a really interesting thing she wrote.
I can definitely, like, in reading this book and then hearing about her
You see it.
past, like, yeah, you can definitely see the different little pathways of how it's influenced her, and it's all come together into, like, this book.
Yep.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, there was a lot of other things in her life that I was like, oh man, I can see why she wrote some of the things that she, like, in this particular book. Especially when she wrote it, there are parallels in her life that I was like, interesting.
Yep.
Unfortunately, Octavia Estelle Butler died February 24th, 2006. She fell and struck her head on concrete at the age of 58. And I guess there was a situation where she had called her doctor and said, I'm feeling dizzy, my ankles are swollen, all this. And he's like, I have the flu, stay in bed, get some rest, and lose some weight. How many times have we all heard that?
Mm.
It pisses me off. You shitty doctor. And like it pissed the gal who like found out because one of her friends was going to pick her up that day and found out, I guess, on the way there that she had died. And she was really pissed because she said that the doctor had just told her to basically get some rest and that she was totally fine. And then she fell and hit her head. And she's like, it was just shitty doctor stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They should have taken better care and been more mindful because, like, I guess she would go on hikes and stuff and that her friend would have a hard time keeping up with her because she was just like a fucking beast.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
She sounded like a really cool lady.
I would have loved to go on hikes with her, for sure.
Yes.
She goes at my pace.
Yeah. Yep. So, anyway, what do you guys want to start talking about the book?
Well, I did have one thing to say. So I was kind of reading an article about like the movie adaptation that we're going to talk about, or media adaptation. And there was an interview that she did. I don't know when it was, but she basically was talking about how Kindred, she did not think was a sci-fi. She thought it was fantasy because she's like, well, sci-fi is science fiction. Like, there's science to it, and there's no science in Kindred. So she thought, in her opinion, Kindred is a fantasy, not sci-fi.
Yeah, when Amber was talking about it being a sci-fi earlier, I kept thinking to myself, I don't feel like it's a sci-fi.
Other than the time traveling thing.
I think
Yeah.
that's why
That's
it was
it.
deemed.
To me, it seems like a fantasy or like historical fiction,
Yeah.
or
Mhm.
but just the time travel is
Yeah.
the really only
The only part of it.
fantastical part of it. Yeah,
And that's probably why it was deemed
Mhm.
science fiction, is
And
because of the time travel
Yeah.
bit.
yeah.
And I'm sure all of her other stuff definitely is sci-fi. But I thought
But it sounded very sci-fi.
I saw that and I was like, oh, that's interesting that like she thought that, and it makes sense, yeah, because she's like, it has to have science in it
Yeah.
to be sci-fi, and there's no science in this,
And it's not explained. It's never
Yeah.
explained. And I was always like, well, what the fuck happened? How did this even start? Give me some details.
It's a little bit more explained in that TV series we're going to talk about, but
I didn't watch
Yeah.
it.
very loosely. Sam didn't do her homework.
We
did.
had a lot of snow and I couldn't come back.
It's okay. It's fine.
I did want to mention, because I forgot about this. Where the fuck did I write it? It's on this
And then I
page.
just completely forgot to
Yeah.
watch it.
No, it's fine. Well, it's on
Myself.
Hulu, so you can watch it.
So, there was a graphic
Yes!
novel adaptation that
Yep.
I did want to mention.
Mhm.
God, there were two men.
I almost accidentally bought that.
I know what that's
And I was like,
called.
whoops.
It's called, I wrote that down somewhere too.
I mean, I think it's still just Kindred.
Yeah, because it comes
Oh,
up.
there's another graphic novel of one of her other books, not Kindred.
Mm-hmm. So, hold on.
I was because it comes up on Amazon when I looked up for the book. It is an option as a graphic novel. And I was like, I like that book cover more than this one. And I was like, oh, wait, it's the graphic novel.
It's a graphic novel, and the adaptation was done by Damian Duffy and John Jennings. And John Jennings is actually a black man. So I thought that was really cool. Just because I don't know. Like, whenever I found out it was a graphic novel, I was like, oh, cool. Like, that's really interesting, I
I could
guess.
see it being like adapted pretty well.
But it got like a bunch of awards and stuff.
Mhm.
And I was like, oh, like, she wrote it.
Yeah, give her the fucking credit.
Yeah, she's the one who wrote it. And like, I mean, the artwork is pretty neat. It's very cool artwork. But I think it elevated a little bit more for me when I found out that at the very least, there was a black man involved in
that's
the
good.
like, adaptation of it. Cause I was like, that gives it a little bit of extra for me because it's like a continuation of like,
Well, they
her
have
work
first
in a
person
way.
experience of
Yes,
like,
exactly.
you
Yeah.
know.
Oppression and things that
Yeah.
a
And
white
I-
person's not gonna be able
Yes.
to relate
Right.
to.
Yes.
We could sympathize, but we cannot relate.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes.
Empathizing is not a thing because it's not the same.
It's not.
All right. So, yeah, as we said, it's a time travel thing. And this book was written in 1976. So the present day is 1976, not 2025.
Which I also found very interesting that Dana is obviously a Black woman.
Mm-hmm.
She ends up meeting and marrying Kevin, who is a white man. And in 1976, I feel like that's still pushing some boundaries.
It was.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
And we'll get into that, too, because there's parts of the book that kind of talk about their marriage and everything. So, yeah, the prologue of this book is interesting because it kind of starts where the book ends.
It does.
So it's kind of like, it kind of grabs you and you're like, what's going on here? I don't know. But basically it's the last time that she comes back from the past, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how she, like, every time she comes back, she's kind of injured in some way. And a lot of people are kind of wondering if Kevin is
beating her ass.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which he is not.
No, he is not.
He's not hitting her.
Yes.
He's not doing any of that.
No,
He loves her very much. I think
does.
at one point after he eventually ends up going back in time with her on accident. And I think the time when he comes back from that, I feel like they have a very stressed relationship, which is understandable because the time frame doesn't match up, which always irritated me. Because like in modern time, she'd be gone for a couple hours or a couple days. But in like 1815 time, she could be gone for months or years.
I've seen other time travel things where it's like that, though. So I was like, this is a stereotypical time travel thing where it's like...
I just need all the fucking details.
Haven't you seen Jumanji? No, I'm kidding.
I need all the details.
Sam's like, I need to know how the science of this works.
It doesn't math right in my brain and I don't like it.
Yeah, it was weird. But I mean, for plot line, I think it was a good twist to it. But
yeah.
I mean, I think it doesn't have to be explained. It's fantastical, but I'm weird. I don't know. Some things like that. I'm like, I need to know.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of interesting too, because like I think all the present time is within a couple days to a week, but in the past it ends up being months and months and months sometimes. So
I mean, and it was one of those situations where in the beginning I'm like, how the fuck are they explaining that away? Because that's a pretty big thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we also don't have the context of how she lost the arm yet or anything.
Yeah.
It's literally like a first page.
Yeah.
But I kind of like how it started off like that because it makes you be like, I'm confused. I want to learn more.
Yes.
And I also like how it breaks it up between present day and the past. And we will also get into why the chapters are named the way they are, which I think is really interesting too. All right, so then after the prologue, the first chapter is called The River.
Yeah.
And it starts off in present day on Dana's 26th birthday, June 9th. And this is where we get introduced really like to Kevin. And kind of like a little bit of their backstory. Like we kind of knew who Kevin was a little bit in the prologue, but now it's like, okay, yeah, they're married. They're both writers or aspiring writers. And they just moved to a new house they moved from LA to Altadena, which I don't know where Altadena is, but it's somewhere in California.
I think it's just probably an outskirt of
it's probably like
LA.
a suburb or something of LA. So they're like unpacking and Dana starts getting dizzy.
Yeah.
And is like, what the fuck's going on? I don't know.
She's just trying to get out of packing or unpacking. That's all.
These books
She's like, unpacking. I'm so fucking tired.
Dang, there's too many books here. I need a nap.
Mm-hmm. So she faints and she wakes up. She doesn't know where she's at though, but she's like near a river.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a boy that's drowning in the river. And his mom's somewhere screaming.
She's like right next to the river, like screaming for him.
Yes.
Dana finds him, pulls him out of the thing. Little white boy with red hair.
Yep.
Pulls him to the shore. He's drowned, so he's not breathing.
His mom's freaking out.
Yeah, his mom's freaking out, and she starts trying to revive him and give him CPR, and the mom's really freaking out. Then
she's like,
get off of him!
Beating on him.
Yeah, she's like,
or on her rather,
slapping Dana around while she's trying to save her son, and then she saves the little boy whose name is Rufus.
Yeah.
Rufus.
Which also I liked how she said,
"What is
Rufus? Ugly name to inflict on a reasonably nice-looking little kid."
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, that's kind of like a dog name.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
So she saves him, and then she gets the dad, Rufus's dad, comes and like threatens her with a shotgun, which is like, exactly how you should, be thankful for someone who just saved your child.
But he also did not know that necessarily, that she was saving him, because CPR wasn't a thing. And
yeah, I think probably thought that she was attacking him or something.
Yeah.
And also she doesn't know that what time zone she's in right now or anything.
Yeah.
So they're reacting in a way that's not great, and she doesn't realize why they're not acting okay to her.
Yeah, there's a lot that is a lot of variables that are unknown.
Yeah. And then after he threatens her with the shotgun, though, she gets suddenly dizzy and is all of a sudden back in 1976.
She's scared as hell and goes back. Yeah.
Yep. And she's kind of like,
the fuck just happened?
Because Kevin's like, what the fuck? Because you disappeared in front of me. And she's like, what the fuck? I don't fucking know.
She's like, this is what just happened. And Kevin's like, yeah, I believe you. And I was like,
oh,
that was the thing that I was like, okay.
That also annoyed me. I'd be like, you did just disappear in front of my face, but also...
I'm skeptical of what the fuck just happened.
I would be skeptical that I'm going insane. I would be like, I believe you 100%.
Because
maybe
she was only gone a couple seconds. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe carbon monoxide is like fucking killing us right now. Yeah, because he said she was gone for a couple seconds. Were they
tripping on LSD?
And she said she was gone for like 20 minutes or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep.
And it's like, what?
Yeah.
And then
so
when
the time frame doesn't lie.
Yeah, and when she reappeared, she was in a different spot than when she left. So it was like, what? How do you just say, okay, yeah, I believe you on that?
I mean, to be fair, I feel like if I like disappeared for a second and came back, Ben would like, well, that was weird.
But
what
also
happened to you? And I'd be like this, and he'd be like,
okay,
that's weird, but all right, babe.
I feel like he'd be like, well, that's a very Amber thing to do.
Yeah.
Truth, yeah. Did you just time travel with Lord and Sam somewhere? Jesus.
Ben. Yeah. What the fuck just happened, Amber?
And Sam and I are coming back with these buckets of moonshine. Like, no shit,
I got the good hooch now. Ben's sitting there and he's like,
I'm gonna need some of that hooch to understand what the hell happened.
Crazy, but this is a whole other level. I don't know.
Yeah.
He was like, this is a little intense for me.
Yeah. And then so she's kind of also recalling like what she saw, and she's like, well, like they were dressed kind of weird, and the gun he was holding was old, and like they had a southern accent, and she's like, the trees were not trees that you'd see in California. Like she's kind of picking up on like,
they're not. Are they in California?
No, they end up like they live in California in present day.
Yeah.
Never mind.
And then she goes back to Maryland.
And then she gets to go back to Maryland, but she doesn't know that she's in Maryland yet, because another thing is all these little time travels, they get longer and longer and longer. Mm-hmm. So this was only 20 minutes and they keep on getting extended. All she knows is there is a boy named Rufus that she saved, and then her parents freaked out about it.
Yes.
All right, so the next chapter is called The Fire. But all these chapters start off in present day, 1976. And then they go back to,
I love that you noticed this, because my ass did not.
I noticed this like right away.
I was like, these are interesting names for these chapters, and that was where it stopped.
Well, it might have also been because you were doing the audiobook.
Yeah, I didn't have like the actual physical copy in front of me.
It is easier to notice like these things. So anyway, she suddenly is back, and Rufus is in trouble again.
But he's a little older.
A little, not much.
Not much, but he's a little older.
A little bit older.
She can tell the time has passed a little bit.
Yeah, he's still a child. He's a couple of years older, maybe.
Yep. And he has set some drapes on fire and has almost burnt the house down because of it, or is at risk of burning the house down.
What an idiot.
And right? But she asks him why, and he's like, because my dad made me mad. Basically.
Yep.
And she looks at him, and he's got like all these welts and stuff on his back. He's got scars on his back. Yeah. So like, pretty immediately.
A list of the fact that his dad's not a great person.
Yeah.
Well, but also retaliating by starting a fire is not a great thing.
No.
Right? Rufus needs some therapy.
Yeah.
But also, I don't think there's a lot of therapy going on in 1815.
No.
So.
He kind of treated his kids just about the same as he
As the-
treated the slaves.
Yeah. Slightly better, probably, but not.
Just
I mean,
slightly.
still fucking property.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
So, Rufus's dad is not a great person, folks.
Nope.
He
Go figure.
fucking sucks.
So I think she just throws him out the window or something. I don't
Yeah,
remember
I
what
think
she
they
does.
go run out the window, and that's when she has a conversation with him about like what the fuck's going on and what year it is. What is it like?
Yeah.
Yeah, she throws the curtains out the window, but
Yeah.
she was like, this house is made of wood. We should make sure that it's not too close to the fucking house.
Good call,
Check that
Dana.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Fire safety.
Dana saves his ass.
Yep.
And then he's like, or she's like, what do I do? Where can I go? Basically, like, I'm in 1815. I don't want to hang out here. And he's like, well, you could work for us. And she's like, would you want to work for your dad? And he's like, well, no, not really.
Yeah.
Probably not.
Especially if I was fucking black and I was gonna be treated like a slave, I
Mhm.
definitely would not want to be.
Well, and
working for his dad.
also, we should probably. I'm not gonna say the word, but they do say the N word a lot in this book.
Yep.
Yeah.
Whenever
and
we get-
there's a conversation where like Rufus calls Dana that, and she's like, "Don't call me that." And like Rufus actually is like, "Oh, okay, I won't for sure." But I think he's realizing. I think because he's a kid, he's kind of picking up on like she's not from my like time.
Mhm.
Like
Something.
he's doing
He
the
doesn't-
Kevin thing where he's like, I fully believe you right away almost.
But
Well,
she's
he
also not
doesn't.
wearing clothes like.
Yeah,
That
like
she
she's
would-
dressed like quote unquote a man.
But even her clothes as a man, like, are still very weird because they're like, what cloth is that?
Yeah, so he's picking up on things, and he realizes he's like, wait, something weird's
Something's
going on
off.
here.
Something's wrong, huh?
off.
So she's like, where can I go? And he basically says, well, there's a cabin down the way for some of the folks that are, I think it wasn't for any of the slaves. It was Alice's mom, right?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
free
Yeah.
slave, the
So-
freed person's
Yeah.
basically house.
Yeah.
So there's a few free black people in their community.
Which I feel is like very strange for this time. Like, how? I wish.
I don't know.
I wish
how
it would have
that
gone
worked.
into detail about how Alice's mom got freed,
Yeah.
Yeah.
because
Like,
you don't know.
I think that they had to have paperwork from someone
There's
where
a
they were
thing.
like
There
giving up
is-
property.
yeah,
They
but,
talk
like-
about the past and everything.
not
Yeah.
many people would have gotten that, and like
Yeah.
I wonder like how she got it. I guess.
Well, because I know they were talking about how they could. This was at a time where they could go north though, and become free if they could get north and stay north, basically.
But the Civil War has not even happened yet.
Civil War hasn't happened
So-
yet.
yeah, and she's definitely still in the South,
Yep.
Yeah,
and Maryland is not a free state. Like,
right.
so I just have questions about that. But
Yeah, I
Yeah.
thought that was.
I guess it's not
interesting, too.
necessary.
It makes me
to the
want to like
story
educate
either.
myself more about things.
Yeah,
With the patrols that would go out and retrieve the
Yeah.
slaves that were supposedly run away, but maybe were out on passes or whatever. The fact that they could just tear up their paperwork.
Yeah, it doesn't really like me.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. Like
It does, but it doesn't.
That's so fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
Even if you were freed, like that
If
would
you make the
me,
wrong person, you're still fucked.
Yeah, it'd make me want to never leave
Yeah.
my house.
Yeah.
Like,
So Rufus tells her she can go to Alice's house, which
Alice
she thinks
Greenwood.
about. Yeah, she
and
thinks
Alice's
about
child also at this time.
it.
Yeah.
Yes, And so
Around
she-
Rufus's age.
Mhm.
yes. So she thinks about it, and she's like, "Well, in 1831, my grandma Hagar was born,
Yeah.
and her parents were Rufus Whalen and Alice Green something," is what she said initially.
Yeah. She didn't remember the actual last name.
Yeah, and I wanted to talk to you guys about that. Do you think it was significant that she couldn't remember her grandma's last name, who was black, but she remembered her white slave owner's name?
I think it's significant because, for one, women's last names change so
That's
much.
true.
True.
Especially in history where it was obligated for women to basically take their husband's last name. But and there's so little of documentation among slaves and who they were marrying, etc. And just their lives. Like, we don't have all that paperwork because there wasn't a lot of paperwork for that in the begin with. So I think it's easier to track it, one, through the mail, since he was a plantation owner.
And he got to keep his own name.
And he was white. So it there would have been way more documentation just in general on him than there would have been Alice.
I agree with that. I just wanted to kind of bring it up because I thought that was interesting that she knew it was green something, but she couldn't remember what it was.
Yeah.
And when she gets to the house, though, she pretty much immediately witnesses, like, some terrible things going on. So there's some patrollers there at the house, and she witnesses Alice's father being whipped and Alice's mother being absolutely humiliated. Like, they she's all wrapped up in a blanket and he's nude. And they punched Alice's mom in the face after they ripped her blanket from her.
And Alice's father is actually a slave on a different plantation than the Whalens, which is Rufus's family's.
But he has a pass.
But he supposedly has a pass. He doesn't actually have a pass, which is why they're out to go get him. So that's a whole other issue. So he is not freed, but Alice's mother is freed.
She explains that
as well as Alice.
Are free.
Yes.
Yeah. So they take her dad away, right?
Yes.
They do.
And then Dana has a conversation with Alice's mom.
And she asks basically if she can stay there. And Alice's mom's like, I mean, I guess so.
She wasn't thrilled about it by any means.
Like, I just had a fucking day.
Yeah.
But yeah, sure.
She's like, damn it, I left the dang blanket outside.
So Dana goes to get it, and she's assaulted immediately by a patroller.
Yeah.
Who came back. He was the same one that assaulted Alice's mother.
Yeah. He came back to have a little fun.
Yeah, to basically sexually assault her.
Yep.
And she goes to run back inside the house, Dana does, and Alice's mom bars the door.
And she's like, don't come in here. Which, honestly, I get it.
Yeah, you're protecting yourself, you're protecting your child.
This random woman shows up.
She knew what was going to happen.
Yeah. For different times. And
exactly. So the patroller tries to rape Dana, and she hits him and returns home.
Yeah. She gives him a big old punch in the face or something. Out.
She hits him with a dang log, basically.
Yeah.
Good for you, girl.
And then she goes back to 1976. Yep.
And so it's at that point that she's there that I think she had a black eye when she got back.
Yeah. Because I think he punched her.
The controller had hit her. And it's at that point that Kevin's like, what the fuck? So he takes this bag of stuff, like a knapsack basically, and ties it around her waist with a rope. And he has it full of different things, like a knife and stuff, I think.
So that it could go back in time.
Yes.
Yep. So it's like whatever you're holding, I don't know how they came to this conclusion, but whatever you're holding at the time will go back with you. Because your clothes and everything. Yeah.
And then
so they get a little knapsack ready for her with things so that she has something to defend herself and whatnot. Like a knife.
Ties it to her thigh.
Yeah.
So it's got no ability to not go with her. It's literally part of her person at that point. But I'm gonna go back to the patrollers.
Yeah.
Did you guys know that was a thing?
I did.
Because I did not.
I did.
I mean, it makes sense.
It makes total sense.
It was a thing.
Especially in today's kind of atmosphere. I understand it a little bit more that they weren't necessarily the Ku Klux Klan, but they were the
they fucking supported them.
Movement.
Yep.
To it.
They were still not good people.
No.
They were basically there to pull people back. If you escaped, or to monitor and give people a bunch of shit on the road.
Yeah.
Was it voluntary?
I think so.
Police department people.
I don't remember being really taught about that and if I was, I just don't remember it. But I was like, oh,
I think I
wow.
learned about it.
Well, even Dana, like she said, she's like, I
have heard about it, but like,
because of what she witnessed, she was like, oh, patrolman, I know what that is now.
Yeah.
Like, so she didn't even fully know.
fully understand it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I was like, oh God. And I was like, these people are fucking terrible.
We don't learn the things the way that we're supposed to in America. So forgive us if we don't know things. Tell us when we're wrong. We really do like history. We like to know the other side of things because we know that the schools are whitewashed here. We know that we're not getting the full history. We'd love to hear the right history.
We also get the whole America is great and amazing kind of history.
Barf.
It's not about like, okay, America is also a bad guy in these instances.
And then
Yeah.
when you do say that we're the bad guy, it's like, oh, this happened. Okay, back to this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very touch and go.
Yeah.
And this is not the first or last time in a podcast episode that we've talked about this. It's
Yeah.
going to come up a lot because,
We're disappointed that
America's
we get
educational
that kind of
system
history.
is fucked.
I want to know the actual truth.
And
I
we're
don't-
not even in the South. We're in
Yeah.
Missouri. We're in the Midwest.
which is
Think
technically
technically
a
still
swing
South.
state.
I know, but
So-
no, but I'm saying though, a lot
Yeah.
of the educational
I think
textbooks.
we
I had a
would've-
conversation with my uncle about this. A lot of the educational textbooks that are distributed nationwide, are from Texas.
Oh,
Interesting.
boo.
But yeah, I also wanted to talk about what you guys thought about Tom Whalen initially. What was your first reaction to Tom Whalen?
Not great.
Yep.
I
No.
mean, just stereotypical white dude that's very racist, living in the 1800s. That's
Honestly-
basically what it is.
Honestly, I could see that. I could see him living now.
Oh, he
too.
would be thriving now.
like
Which fucking sucks to say.
small
but he would
town
be.
out in the middle of nowhere. Like,
Ugh.
get off my motherfucking property! Like, I'm gonna shoot you with this shotgun.
I have 3 description words written down here.
Probably not great.
Let's hear him.
Reactive, unreasonable, cruel.
All
Those are
right.
the 3 words
Yep.
to describe
No,
Tom Whalen.
that's great. Yeah, Tom Whalen sucks. And his
Mhm.
wife is Margaret.
I was gonna say, let's talk about her.
Let's
real
talk
quick.
about Margaret. She is also not great. But you could, throughout this book, you could.
Almost humanize her.
I don't think I ever had sympathy for her, but I also feel like Tom did not treat her great. And so she tried to overcompensate by treating the slaves not great.
I think there's a lot there.
Do you?
And
honestly,
she also
I
wanted to
don't-
have a good relationship with her son, who she knew was going to turn out like her husband. So that's a weird.
I think she
relationship.
babied Rufus because
Oh, yeah.
she was like, he's the only thing I can control.
Yep.
And then realized later on that, oh, I
Not
really
even
can't
that.
control
Yeah.
him. I have no control over anyone except maybe the slaves.
Okay, so now we're at the fall chapter, I believe, right?
Yes, we
Yes.
are now there.
Yes. So, this chapter starts off kind of doing a backstory of how Dana and Kevin met.
Yes.
So I think we should talk about that a little bit.
Yep, that's actually the first bullet point I have is discussion
All
about
right,
Dana
Amber.
and Kevin's relationship.
Discuss.
So they're both writers. They're both working for an agency for really bad money.
Yeah.
And he's earned.
So Dana's a temp worker, and
Yeah.
he works at it's an auto parts warehouse, and he works there, and she's a temp worker. So they met there, and they've been doing lunch breaks together and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because Kevin found out she was a writer.
Yes. Yeah. So they bonded over that.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And then he finds out that she's not eating because she doesn't have any money for lunch.
Yeah.
And he's like, I've been on that diet before, and we're not
Mhm.
doing that. So he buys her lunch.
And at
So-
first she's kind of like, I don't need to eat this. And then she's like, oh, actually, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that whole interaction was kind of cute.
It was
Yeah.
pretty cute.
Mm-hmm. So then, I forget how it happens, but it flashes back to the present. And Dana has another episode where she's like, oh my gosh, I'm going to faint. And Kevin grabs her, I think.
Yeah, he grabs onto
Yeah.
her.
Mm-hmm.
And so he ends up getting transported back in time with her.
Yeah.
So this is where we know, okay, anything that she is holding on to is going to get transported back with her.
Yes.
Yes. And they find out that Rufus did what this time?
So he was climbing a tree and he fell and broke his leg.
What a dummy.
Yeah. And now it's the year 1819. So 4 years have passed.
So 4 years have passed, even though it's just been, I don't know, a day or two.
Yeah, I think
not
a couple
even.
days.
In 1976.
Mm-hmm.
And Rufus is also with Nigel. We could introduce Nigel, I think, at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Who is
a slave child.
Yes.
But he's
But like
also
a
friends.
A
Yeah.
companion.
with
Yeah,
Ruf,
I would say. I would not say friend. I would say companion to
Yeah.
Rufus.
Because
yeah.
I'm pretty sure that that's probably what. So there were.
I would say as close as a friend as Rufus probably
Oh
ever
yeah.
had.
Oh, probably.
Oh yeah.
And
for
I
sure.
think that was actually pretty common at the time, was that sometimes whenever like some of the slaves had children on the plantations, their children were sometimes raised as companions for
Well,
whatever.
They get into that later.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
and you know, that's pretty much the only friend that Rufus knew though.
Yeah. So Nigel sees all this happen. Like Kevin and Dana appear and he's like, what the fuck?
Mm-hmm.
And then Rufus is like, oh my gosh, my leg. And so
They sent Nigel to
they
go.
they send Nigel to go back to find
Tom.
his parents or
Mhm. Get Tom
Luke or
Whalen.
someone to go. It's not Tom. He's not going to do that labor. He's going to have Luke or someone fetch him, I'm sure.
Mhm.
So it's like, go back, find help, and we'll stay with them. And then
But didn't Tom show up?
Tom did show
oh,
up
he
with
did end
Luke.
up showing up for
With Luke.
one good thing he did.
And they're all trying to get their story straight so it all aligns so that they don't make mistakes.
Yeah. Yep.
But it doesn't really help because Tom and Margaret are both like, wait.
They catch on
y'all look real familiar.
Well, because they have like modern clothes, and
I mean,
Kevin
they-
doesn't act like a white man
Well,
would.
I guess
in that
Dana looks
time,
familiar
and
because, like, they also saw her when
before.
she saved Rufus up
Yeah.
Yeah,
the river.
they're like, "Hey, you look familiar."
But they don't want to believe that she's a time traveler
Yeah.
either.
Right.
So they go back to Rufus's house, the plantation, and there's an interaction with his parents. Kevin ends up going inside the house, and then they make Dana go to the cookhouse, which is where all the slaves go
Yeah.
to rest sometimes.
That's where she meets Sarah.
And that's where she meets Sarah, and Luke is there, who Luke came to help bring Rufus back, and then there is Carrie and Nigel. So Kevin is offered a job by Tom Whalen to tutor Rufus
Mm-hmm.
because he tells Tom his story about like, oh, we got mugged. Dana's my slave, my one slave, and we got mugged, and I have nothing. And so Tom's like, okay, you could stay with us, and you could tutor Rufus.
Rufus knew about as much as Tom Whalen did among, like, when it came to reading,
Yeah.
basically.
Yes, yeah, because like reading's not really a thing that people like. Some people do, but not. It's not something that's taught.
There's a hold on.
It wasn't necessarily
So-
a requirement for the
Yeah.
time because unless you were in business where you needed to be able to read and write and do like mathematics, like most people could get by without doing that.
There was something in the book where it was like, okay, you go to school until you're this certain age, and then you stop so you could like start running the plantation or whatever.
Start
There's something
working
about
on
that.
it.
So it's
That
like
was-
education wasn't really like priority.
He also told them that he's a writer
Yeah.
and that he tells them that Dana can read and write and that he plans to use that for, you know, his own purposes. And then he's going to sell her in Louisiana, but he told Dana that he'd free her in New York. This is the story he's telling Tom.
So they're there for like 3 days.
Hey, Margaret's got the hots for Kevin.
Oh
Fuck yeah, she does.
She does. Margaret's like, hey, you
Which
look
I'm like,
different. I like
So,
girl, how you gonna get away with that and not end up having Tom run Kevin off with a fucking shotgun?
Dana starts reading to Rufus in bed because, remember...
He broke his
he
dumbass leg.
broke his leg, and breaking your leg back in 1815, whatever the fuck.
I'm surprised he didn't die.
I know.
1819. We're in 1819.
That's what I said.
Yes.
I think I said 15.
1815, whatever.
1815. Yeah, like breaking your leg in 1815 ain't what you're breaking your leg in 2025.
Yeah, they had to set it.
He was in his bed for a while.
Which it didn't sound like they said it very well.
No anesthetic, just force.
A lot of screaming.
And splinting.
And passing out.
So Dana starts reading to him in bed. I think just secretively, but then his parents find out and they're like, you know what?
Yeah, I think Tom caught her.
I will let you keep on doing that.
And he was like, please.
Which was, I think this is the first time where I'm like, I think this is where you realize they're kind of scared of her. They realize that she's not
normal
from this time
there's something
period.
off.
Because this would not fly with a normal, like, person, I don't think. So Dana actually witnesses Tom whipping one of his slaves, which I think it's hard to talk about, but we should talk about. Especially because in the rest of the book that happens a bit.
Well, he was making an example.
Yeah.
And he had everyone watch.
Making an example.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
That was the wording in the book.
Yeah, I know. I know. Not fuck you, Amber. I'm saying
I know.
fuck you, Tom Whalen.
I know. So that's what he did it for, though. He was trying to make an example to be like, yeah, if you fucking cross me, I'll beat you for it. And basically making sure people knew not to run, not to get out of line, not to anything.
Yeah.
You did what you were supposed to do. I don't even remember what the offense was.
It was probably something so...
I mean, you shouldn't beat anybody for any reason.
No. Imagine being someone that going back into that time. Like, imagine it being Dana and witnessing that. And being like, oh shit, this could be... I think this is when she was like, oh shit. Because she was kind of like, you know, during her thing, being like, I could change this little boy and change his mindset. And then she saw that and she's like, I think she knew she was in danger before, but I think now she really realizes
I think the reality setting in here.
I think this was like
the turning point for her. There was some advice that Luke gave to Nigel. Don't argue with white folks, he had said. Don't tell them no. Don't let them see you mad. Just say yes, sir. Then go ahead and do what you want to do. Might have to take a whipping for it later on, but if you want it bad enough, the whipping won't matter much. So it sounds like bad advice when you think about the time period and you think about what we know. But then if you're there and you're seeing Luke and you're seeing the way he's doing what he wants to do still, it doesn't seem like bad advice.
There's a part where when they're still back in like the past time and Dana kind of picks up on like how Kevin is adapting to things, and she's like, a place like this would endanger him in a way I didn't want to talk to him about. If he was stranded here for years, some part of this place would rub off on him. No large part, I knew, but if he survived here, it would be because he managed to tolerate the life here. He wouldn't have to take part in it, but he would have to keep quiet about it. Free speech and press hadn't done too well in the antebellum South. Kevin wouldn't do too well either. The place, the time would either kill him outright or mark him somehow. I didn't like either possibility. So she's talking about how, like, he's progressive, but he would adapt to it. But I feel like this gives hints of, like, how much would he adapt to it.
Right.
Which
it's partly self-preservation, but also like partly like would he start believing it?
And there's conversations they have later where I'm like, Kevin,
what you do
come
want more?
On, Kevin, what the fuck? So I'm glad that she said that because I'm like, that's a precursor to things.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about this too. Some of this is mob mentality shit.
Yeah.
Well, of course.
Like, that's very
survival of the fucking fittest, basically.
And that's very much what society is as a whole. is very much mob mentality.
Mm-hmm.
But when you have problematic things like slavery going on, that mob mentality is fucked.
How much are you going to sway yourself to adapt to what's going on here to survive?
How much are you gonna let slip by so
Yeah.
that you can get by?
Yeah.
It's fucked up.
It is.
And then there's a whole conversation with Kevin and Dana about like how Kevin's like, this could be a great time to live in, and Dana's like, but what the fuck are you talking about? Like, I don't want to live here.
Yeah.
Like he's like, we could go west and we could just expand, and you could tell like he's like,
It's unrealistic.
He's thriving more than she is,
and
because of
more than she will ever.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because she's limited and he is not.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then she said west. Well, that's where they're doing it to the Indians instead of the blacks.
Mm-hmm.
So that was an interesting thought too, and I thought that was. I mean, that's not the correct term anymore, but it was at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought it was almost considerate too that she was like, this isn't just happening to me. I liked that she wrote that in there.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure.
Like,
yep.
I really liked that Octavia put that in there because
there's
it's like,
a lot of shit going on in the Civil War that wasn't just black and white.
Right.
It was like everybody is getting fucked by white people.
Yes. So there's this part too. Tom catches Dana in the library reading alone, and he like completely berates her for it.
Stop being so dang smart.
Yeah.
Stop reading books I can't read. You're making me question my
third grade education.
Well,
basically.
And then Nigel asks her the same day that Tom catches her reading, he asks her to teach him to read, and she agrees.
Yes. Yep. So Dana's teaching a lot of people to read.
Because she's fucking crazy. I mean, great for her, but also, like, the problem is it's not even you that's going to be in trouble.
Yes.
Like, these are children.
Well, and she sees that later on.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is,
A little bit later, she and Kevin, I think they're just taking a walk. Like, on their way to the woods, they see this group of children, and they're like children of the field hands, and they're listening, and they're talking about they're basically playing at slave auction.
Yeah. Which is so sad.
It's really sad, but
that
this
was
is their
normal at the time. Yeah.
Yeah, this is
like,
their normal.
Ugh.
He said, I that's the game I thought they were playing. I've seen them play at it before. They play it at field work too. I shook my head. My God, why can't we go home? This place is diseased. He took my hand. The kids are just imitating what they've seen adults doing. They don't understand. They don't have to understand. Even the games they are playing prepare them for their future. And that future will come whether they understand it or not. So, like, I really wanted to talk about that because
Me too.
It's normalized, and so they play. They pretend. They, act like this is a completely normal thing, and it's not.
Well, and also Dana's reaction compared to Kevin's reaction is
very different.
Because Dana's like,
she's horrified, shocked, and disgusted.
Fucked. And Kevin's like, well, they're adapting. And it's like, that's not good.
Right.
That's not healthy. That's scary. And he's like, but they're just rationalizing
children.
it. And she's like, this is not something that should be rationalized.
Right.
This is
she's
good.
Completely appalled and disgusted.
Yep.
And he's just like,
as she should be.
Yeah. And he's just kind of like, I mean, that's their normal, babe.
He shrugs it off.
Yeah.
I think, okay, so I think her reaction is correct. But also these children have, like, literally no idea of what it would be like to not be slaves.
No, I 100% agree with that.
Oh,
so,
yeah,
like,
no.
I can see why they would be playing at that. Is it still
This
fucked?
is real life.
Absolutely.
It's like doing the whole, like,
playing house.
Yeah, exactly.
But, like
fucked up.
Yeah. Like, so I can kind of understand where Kevin's
They're
coming
prepping themselves
from.
for later on.
Yeah, but it's also, like, very not okay.
Yep.
So all that to say, exposure to different things can definitely change your perspectives and
for sure.
understanding of things.
For sure.
And our understanding and perspective of things is different now, today, because we've grown as a society in a lot of ways. We've also taken some steps back as a society in a lot of ways here lately. Unfortunately, we're going a little fucking backwards right now. But I think that we've made a lot of progress as a society, and so the three of us could say, "Oh yeah, his thought process there is fucked," but also it's like, but he's a 1970s white man, and his perspective is what the time period was.
Mm-hmm.
It was probably somewhat appropriate for the time period. It's not appropriate now at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We would all be like, if we were there in that moment, we'd all be like, oh my fucking God.
Yeah.
What's wrong with you, Kevin?
These poor kids.
What's wrong with you,
Well,
Kevin?
we would all just be like, we'd see these kids doing this and we'd be like, what the fuck? That's so wrong. That's so sick.
Yeah.
There was a thing. I'm going to see if I can find it. You go to the bathroom.
Yeah,
I'm
go
going
to
see
the
if I
bathroom.
can find this thing.
I gotta
I'm
pee.
gonna pause.
So Tom walks in. Dana's teaching Nigel.
They're in the
There's,
cookhouse.
Yeah. They're in the cookhouse. I think there was a pencil and paper or something over on like
A pencil
surface.
in front of Nigel on the table. She had just thrown the test that she gave Nigel into the fire to burn. She was holding a reader, a third grade type reader or whatever it
Yes.
was, in her hand at the fire, at the hearth, because she just thrown the test into the fireplace and it was burning. And then here comes Tom Whalen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So she's freaked out because she's like, oh shit, I'm going to get Nigel in trouble too.
Mm-hmm.
She knew that she was probably going
Yep.
to be in trouble, but she was afraid for Nigel first, in my opinion.
She had motioned for him to like take the pencil off the table and hide the fact that she was teaching him,
Yes.
so he would be saved as well.
Yes. But Tom's pissed that she has the book.
Yep.
And that's what she's in trouble for.
Because he had told her that she can read to Rufus, but he damn well better not catch her in the library reading for herself again.
Yeah.
Which
Yep.
is what he thought she was doing besides stealing the book.
Yeah. So Tom Whalen drags her outside and starts whipping her. And I'm not going to read the whole thing because I'm not going to make people suffer through this, but I do think her writing here is very good. So I'm going to read a little bit just to give context. I screamed, convulsed. Whalen struck again and again until I couldn't have gotten up at gunpoint. I kept trying to crawl away from the blows, but I didn't have the strength or the coordination to get away. I may have been still screaming or just whimpering. I couldn't tell. All I was really aware of was the pain. I thought Whalen meant to kill me. I thought I would die on the ground there with a mouthful of blood and dirt and a white man cursing and lecturing as he beat me. By then I almost wanted to die. Anything to stop the pain. I saw Kevin, blurred, but somehow still recognizable. I saw him running toward me in slow motion, running. Legs churning, arms pumping, yet he hardly seemed to be getting closer. Suddenly I realized what was happening and I screamed. I think I screamed. He had to reach me. He had to. And I passed out. So basically, that made her go back to 1976.
Because she was afraid for her life.
Yep.
And that's when Kevin got stuck there for 5 years.
Yep.
Yep.
Because he wasn't touching her.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Which-
she didn't bring him back with.
He ended up getting kicked or beat or something by Whalen himself because he was trying to interfere and ended up with the scar on his forehead from an attack that Whalen had done.
There's something about power. When people get a hold of power, sometimes they get nuts, and that is very much the case in this book. It's all about power struggles and
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's about getting power and keeping that power.
Yep.
Mhm.
The next chapter is called The Fight, which we will get to why it's called that. But I did want to talk about how Kevin and Dana's relationship
Oh, is
before
this
that.
the thing that I got pissed off about?
I got real pissed off about this. Amber, you want to go off? Because I think we're both pissed off about the same thing.
I'm just like, what's happening here?
Probably. So, Kevin.
Oh, I know what's happening here.
You know what's happening now. So there's this part where this is in the 1976 period.
Well, it doesn't fucking matter.
It doesn't.
Men be better. Come on.
Where Kevin asks Dana to type up his pages.
Because he's a well-known writer now.
Yes.
And he wants her to be his secretary, basically. And she's like, fuck
Well,
you, no.
Here's the thing. If she was really good at typing or something, I'd understand this. Because
she doesn't even like typing, though, because she writes her final shit in script.
Yeah.
Right. So we're going to talk about... okay. So, like...
I'm so infuriated.
I know. So it makes sense in some ways. Like, okay... So he wants Dana to type up his pages. She does it once. And then he asks her to do it another time. And I think she did it like reluctantly, but she told him, she's like, I don't want to do this again. I actually hate typing these up. I don't want to do it.
Because she knows the dynamic.
Yes. She's like, I don't want to do this again. Please don't ask me to do this again. And then he asked a third time and she refused and he became angry.
Yep. Fuck you, Kevin.
And said if she couldn't do it for this favor for him, she could leave. And so she fucking does. She's like, fine, fucking bye.
Yeah,
relationships are not based on fucking favors.
No, not at all. She had left. Then she comes back. He's surprised. And she still asks her. He still asks her to type up the fucking pages when she gets back, though.
Oh, yeah, because he's a fucking asshole.
Yeah.
Kevin?
Yes.
Yeah. And she's like,
nah.
No. I'm not doing that for you, bitch.
But he lets her in. And then, like, a few days later, he's like, so you want to marry me? Which was so weird to me. I was
like, you need to make up your fucking mind.
About that. So, that was weird.
It was a weird dynamic.
That was a weird dynamic. It was a power move kind of thing, I think. But then also the dynamic of, like, he told his family about it and she told her family about it. And they were both like, nah. Which is, like, very racist stuff.
So there was the racism in her family, but there was racism... Or there was racism in his family, but there was racism in her family in a different way.
Yeah.
He goes and tells his sister. And he said, well, what did she say? Well, that she didn't want to meet you, wouldn't have you in her house, or me either if I married you. And she said a lot of other things. You don't want to hear them. The thing is, there's no reason for her to react this way. She didn't even believe the garbage she was handing me, or didn't used to. It's as though she was quoting someone else. Her husband, probably. Pompous little bastard. I used to try to like him for her sake. Her husband is prejudiced? Her husband would have made a good Nazi. She used to joke about it, though never when he could hear. But she married him. Desperation. She would have married almost anybody.
That whole conversation was
sad.
Very sad because, I mean, you just gave a Cliff Notes version of it.
Yeah,
Amber.
I did.
It was very hard hitting.
It was.
And very, like, I don't understand why people are being so close-minded.
Complacent?
Yeah.
That's a really common
But also,
thought,
this
though.
is like 1976.
I was going to say,
again.
it was still very commonplace at that time.
Again, this would happen now, too. In a lot of ways, which is fucked up.
There's a lot of, like, women that vote the way their husbands vote just because.
Yep. And I'm going to give the Cliff Notes of her family version. What did your aunt and uncle say about me, Dana? I think my aunt accepts the idea of my marrying you because any children we have will be light. Lighter than I am, anyway. She always said I was a little too highly visible. He stared at me. You see, I told you they were old. She doesn't care much for white people, but she prefers light-skinned blacks. Figure that out. Anyway, she forgives me for you, but my uncle doesn't. He's sort of taken this personally. He was more hurt than mad, honestly hurt. I had to get away from him. But he knew you'd marry someday. How could a thing as natural as that be a rejection? I'm marrying you. I reached up and twisted a few strands of his straight gray hair between my fingers. He wants me to marry someone like him. Someone who looks like him. A black man.
Mhm.
Okay, that's very, like, Freud. And very fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes me uncomfortable.
There is a lot of stuff that we could unpack,
Mm-hmm.
and we don't have time to unpack.
Uh-uh.
But at the same time, I hate how both of their families were like, no.
Well, they
Don't
rejected the
do
people
that.
they loved.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And that's just
Because
so tragic.
they were going to marry someone that they could not understand.
Mm-hmm. So then she gets zapped back to...
Zap back.
We don't actually know when right now. She's called back to Rufus, and he is getting the shit beat out of him.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
he's a
And
fucking ding dong.
Rightly
Yep.
so.
Yeah,
He's
absolutely.
a
he
fucking
earned
ass.
that.
Like,
ass
almost-
beaten.
As soon as I heard what was happening, I was like,
yeah.
I know what happened.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
Ass beaten achieved.
So she comes in, he's getting the shit beat out of him by a black man, and a young woman, Alice, is laying on the ground with her dress torn down the front.
Mhm.
Guess what happened? Mm-hmm.
Rufus
Yeah.
is a fucking asshole.
Think we all know without saying.
So Rufus had raped Alice, and Isaac, which is the black man who was beating the shit out of
Alice's husband.
Yes.
Which also
of
not
Rufus.
legal, though, because they couldn't legally get married.
I mean, yes and no.
It was
Yeah.
a thing.
It wasn't legal.
It was a
for-
whole
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
It was observed, but it was not necessarily
Respected.
legal.
Yeah.
But Isaac was beating the shit out of
Rufus.
Rufus, and he could have killed him.
Yep. So Dana talks Isaac out of killing Rufus, and she basically does this by being like, "Well, what'll happen to you if you kill him?" And he basically is like, "I don't give a fuck what happens to me." But the way she gets him to stop is he goes, "What'll happen to her
Mhm.
if you kill him?"
Mhm.
And Isaac makes the choice to not kill Rufus for the sole reason of making sure that something bad doesn't happen to Alice.
Which it doesn't
Alice.
That is love right there.
Yes. Now, Alice is free, though.
Mhm.
Yes.
Isaac is a slave.
Mhm.
Dana gives them a head start to run off, right?
Yep.
She's like, go, fucking run, go.
Yep.
I'm going to try and take care of this, basically.
Yeah.
Alice tells her that Kevin left for the north, and Rufus knows where he is. So that's one of the last things Alice says, because Alice remembers Dana. Roof, did you manage to rape that girl? He looked away guiltily. Why would you do such a thing? She used to be your friend.
Mhm.
When we were little, we were friends, he said softly. We grew up. She'd rather have a buck inward than me. Do you mean her husband? I asked. I managed to keep my voice even. Who in the hell else would I mean? Yes. I gazed down at him bitterly. Kevin had been right. I'd been foolish to hope to influence him. Yes, I repeated. How dare she choose her own husband? She must have thought she was a free woman or something.
It's a fucking power thing.
Yeah, it is a
Mhm.
power thing, and it's bullshit.
He just couldn't see past how that was wrong either.
Nope. He forced himself on her because that's what he wanted to do for control.
And then they asked to... She asked what would happen to them, to Isaac and Alice. And he seemed satisfied in knowing that she would somehow get hurt and that she would become a slave. We find out Margaret's in Baltimore. She gave birth to twins, and they were sickly, and they died.
Yeah.
And then she was sick afterward, and she was always yelling at Tom, which, go figure, after you've had 2 babies that died, that you'd maybe be mad at your shitty husband who had 1 million children with other women.
Yeah.
Go
Mhm.
fucking figure. She left to stay with her sister in Baltimore.
She went on vacation.
A long vacation.
A
Didn't
mental
fucking-
I went on a
Vacation.
vacation.
Yes.
Yep.
And they got a new overseer, which is Margaret's cousin Jake.
Yep. Fuck that guy.
And Tom ends up charging Dana with Rufus's care after he like comes back and he's, you know,
Beat the fuck up.
yeah, beat the fuck up. He's like, you take care of my son.
Kevin is like off in somewhere where Dana doesn't
Boston.
know.
And or Maine.
North. And so Dana
Philadelphia.
has a conversation with Rufus about like, hey, I need to write to Kevin to get him back here. Rufus is like, yeah, write letters. I will mail them to him. And she's like, okay. So she writes a bunch of letters. Who knows how long letters take to go by horseback or whatever, but it takes a long ass time, and she didn't.
Yeah, the first one that she wrote was like a month and she hadn't heard anything.
Yeah.
And she wrote again.
That's a long ass time.
Yeah.
So she's writing letters to Kevin. He's not getting them.
Or it seems like he's not, maybe.
And why?
He is not
We know he's
getting
not getting
those
them.
letters.
We know he's not.
Rufus, you pussant.
I thought you were going to say peckerhead for a second.
Oh my god. Rufus tells her that Luke was sold by Tom for, quote, thinking he was white. Which is fucked.
Because he just went ahead and did whatever he wanted, just
Yeah.
like he told her in the cookhouse.
Being a
while
fucking
back.
individual.
Yes.
Rufus discovered a book that Dana had brought back with her, and it was a history book. And he was like, oh my God, this never, like, it was probably
He
like
said-
witchcraft to him.
Yeah.
He said, this is the biggest lot of abolitionist trash I ever saw.
Yeah. Okay, Louisiana.
Yeah. So there was that.
He made her burn that book.
He
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
I tore the book into several pieces and threw it onto the hot coals in his fireplace. The fire blazed up and swallowed the dry paper, and I found my thoughts shifting to Nazi book burnings. Repressive societies always seem to understand the danger of wrong ideas.
Which,
Yeah.
honestly, it's weird, but, like, her doing that, if you think about, like, Back to the Future and stuff, it's like, you don't mess with what's supposed to happen.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably good that she did that, because then it
Yeah.
didn't go into the wrong hands, you know?
Yeah.
I thought about that for a little bit. I'm like, okay, I'm thinking too much. I need to, like,
I'm
draw
thinking
back.
too much of Back to the Future bullshit.
My brain's gonna explode.
Well, he was doing it. He was making her do it to try and protect her.
No, it was not like what
He
I
said it was to
thinking
protect her, but it felt controlling still.
No,
Oh, it definitely
It
was.
was definitely like a.
That's why I did air quotes that nobody
Yeah.
could see
Yeah.
about the protecting.
No, he did not. He was doing that for selfish reasons.
Yeah, he was.
But I was also like, probably best you did that so it didn't go into the wrong hands. Because, like, imagine if his dad got that, or like some other colonel got that, or
Mhm.
something.
Yeah,
Like, that could have swayed the Civil War or something.
something. Who knows?
Because the Civil War was like 20 years after that.
Mhm.
Mhm.
That's crazy.
And then Isaac and Alice get caught. They're caught after 4 days.
Yeah.
She's beat the fuck.
Yeah, and they cut off Isaac's ears. And I think they beat the shit out of him, and they sold him
Well, and
I think,
Alice
to the
doesn't.
deep south, yeah?
Alice basically doesn't remember things for a while.
No,
She
and she was
doesn't.
no longer a freed woman. She was now a slave.
Yes. And she did not understand that either, but we'll get...
I think they sold Isaac to Mississippi.
Yeah, I was going to say.
But they
sold
cut
him
his
to the
ears
deep
off.
south.
So.
Yeah.
So he buys Alice, and he charges Dana with her care. He spoke out of love for the girl, a destructive love, but a love nevertheless. That's a really common thing in the book, I feel like, is destructive love.
Now, somehow, Alice would have to accept not only the loss of her husband, but her own enslavement. Rufus had caused her trouble, and now he had rewarded her for it. It made no sense. No matter how kindly he treated her now that he had destroyed her, it made no sense.
So Carrie is having a baby.
Yep.
She gives birth, and Tom comes in and gives them a gift of a new dress for Carrie, a new blanket, and a new suit of clothes for Nigel. See, Nigel told me later with some bitterness, because of Carrie and me, he's one inward richer.
Mm-hmm.
So that's immediately like, as soon as Jude is born, he's property.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they know that, and that's
Yep.
got to be devastating.
Tom's generousness is not about
I think that's
the
the next
humanity. It's about, oh, well, I need to leverage this because these are my property.
He's
Yeah.
fair.
Which is fucked up.
He's a
It is.
fair man.
Fuck you, Tom. Dana finds out that Rufus has not been sending the letters to Kevin.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah. But Tom ends up sending a letter to Kevin, which is interesting.
That's because Rufus promised Dana that he would, and he did
Yeah.
not keep his promise, which
Yes.
Tom is, for whatever reason, very against not keeping your promises. Who knows? Weird thing to be.
The one good thing Tom
Yeah.
did was be like, I'm gonna send him a letter.
Yep.
So Dana ends up running away because she finds out about Rufus not sending the letters.
And she thought she could get a good head start by leaving in the middle of the night, and she was sadly mistaken. Because another house slave went and told on her.
Tom and Rufus find her and they bring her back and they whip her. Which, this part of the book though, like, was very much like a power dynamic of like, oh, I think this is when she realized, like, I have no control over.
Anything.
Can't
These
trust
people.
him as much as I
Because
thought I could.
He's just as bad as his father.
Yep. Well, because he also drank too much and beat Alice
Yep.
at one
Well,
point.
yeah, that was like the first reckoning, but like,
Well, he had sent Dana before she goes and runs off. He sent Dana to go talk to Alice, to talk her into sleeping with him.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, I don't
Nah.
want to do that. And he's like, well, you're going to anyway. He just makes it so that she's basically his mistress all the time. It's really horrible.
so Tom sends letters to Kevin. Kevin comes back. There's a confrontation between Rufus and Kevin because Kevin is trying to take Dana away.
Yeah.
And they meet on the road.
Yep.
And he's like, I'm gonna basically shoot you guys.
Rufus is very dependent on Dana.
He's like, I don't want you to leave me.
He has a very dependent relationship on Dana.
Yeah.
Very.
Dana and him have never had any kind of sexual relationship, but he wants to. It's weird.
He has
wants
abandonment issues. And his feelings aren't really right, but it's all abandonment shit. He's just like, you will not leave.
So with that confrontation with Rufus, there's, a fight ensues and Dana starts to go back to the present time. And luckily Kevin is touching her when she does that. So, because I think he realizes what's happening. So they both end up going back to 1976 after that. So it's interesting, the next chapter, the beginning of it, it talks about how, like, Kevin and Dana are, like, adjusting back to 1976 life because, they spent all this time, Kevin even more than Dana, in, like, the past. So it's kind of like how they're adapting to life in 1976, like their real life.
I could recall walking along narrow dirt road that ran past the Whalen house and seeing the house, shadowy in twilight, boxy and familiar, yellow light showing from some of the windows. I could recall feeling a sense of relief at seeing the house, feeling that I had come home, and having to stop and correct myself, remind myself that I was in an alien, dangerous place. I could recall being surprised that I would come to think of such a place as home. That was more than 2 months ago when I went to get help for Rufus. I had been home to 1976, to this house, and it hadn't felt that home-like.
Mm-hmm.
So, have you guys ever been to a place where you felt safer than you should have? I don't know that
it's a weird perspective.
I don't think it's a safety thing.
Yeah,
I think
it's
a, like,
comforting
well, yeah,
in a
like,
weird way.
because it's what you're used to.
I know everything about this. I know what is expected of me.
Yeah.
Like, it's one of those like weird feelings.
Yeah, and also like people in 1976 is not gonna know what the fuck is going on besides Kevin.
But she also really hadn't been in the house with Kevin very long before all this started happening, so they hadn't even had a chance to make it her.
Yeah,
their home.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
they'd only lived there together for like 2 days.
Yeah.
They just bought the
True.
house.
Yeah.
Yep. I don't know. I like that aspect because she spent more time at this point
Mm-hmm.
in slave times than she has in 1976 in her house, her new house. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And Kevin too. So.
Well, and there's this other quote on there too. It's just after this. I felt as though I were losing my place here in my own time. Rufus's time was a sharper, stronger reality. The work was harder. The smells and tastes were stronger. The danger was greater. The pain was worse. Rufus's time demanded things of me that had never been demanded before, and it could easily kill me if I did not meet its demands. That was a stark, powerful reality, and the gentle conveniences and luxuries of this house of now could not touch.
Mm-hmm.
And if I felt that way after spending only short periods in the past, what must Kevin be feeling after 5 years? His white skin had saved him from much of the trouble I had faced, but still he couldn't have had an easy time.
He has no one to talk to
Yeah.
about what he went through the past 5 years. And in 1976, it was 20 minutes or whatever.
Yeah.
Yep.
3 days, whatever. Like, that's got to be really hard.
He seemed like he was kind of intentionally trying to, like, block her, though.
Mm.
Like, she would try to be like, give it some time, and he was just like, no! Yeah. And it's like he didn't want to hear what she had to say because she had been back a much shorter, or been gone shorter amount of time than he was, so he was having a harder time
Yeah.
getting back to what was considered normal, which understandable, but he also wasn't like treating her as a caring spouse. He was just like ignoring her and kind of just throwing off what she was saying.
It's probably severely overstimulated with a lot of things. I would be so fucking
I mean-
overstimulated.
Yeah, but it's also kind of fucking rude. I don't
Well,
know.
No, I'm with you, Sam.
It
Like,
is.
I am on his side a little bit, but also, like, he did not get whipped.
No.
He's a white man in fucking slave time.
He is, but
Yeah.
he also
That's what I'm saying.
almost got into some big shit because he was trying to help slaves escape.
I did like that dynamic of, like, that perspective.
Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that he reacted correctly.
No.
I'm just saying as an
How would you
alternate-
react?
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know,
as
but-
an alternative perspective.
And he probably did things that
There's
he
that.
felt guilty about. I'm sure.
he did,
in
too.
5 years.
Yeah.
I'm sure he did. Like,
things that he didn't
And-
want to do
and-
but did because he had to
that made him
do
more
whatever.
like whenever they talked about it, like, he can't tell Dana about that, you know?
Right.
Like, there's so much in those 5 years that he can't even, like, express, you know? But ultimately, he is a good dude.
I think so too.
Ultimately.
And then, yeah,
he
he's
is.
just really struggling.
So then Dana ends up getting called back.
So Kevin does not get transported back with her this time. And she finds Rufus sick, just sprawled out in the woods during a thunderstorm.
Which about to be me.
Face down.
There's no rain going on.
No, but there's woods outside, so.
And she drags him back to, what, I think so. Drags him back to the home.
Yeah.
Well, she drags him to a
thinks-
tree,
she
and then she's
thinks
like,
he-
shit, maybe I shouldn't be under a tree in this thunderstorm.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's like, hey, Nigel, come do this
She
shit.
kind of
Yeah.
thinks he's drunk.
He
He
is
is.
drunk.
I mean, but he has other things going on.
Yeah.
So she's like, oh
Well,
my gosh, you're drunk. I'm going to
He was
fucking
drunk
drag
at
you
that
back."
point in time. Then he ended up getting a fever from being face down in a nasty, dirty ditch.
And then,
Go figure.
so he gets
Yeah.
fucking back in bed, and then they think it's malaria, but it's not malaria.
There's a
Dengue
thing-
fever.
Dengue fever,
There
which
was
I know what that is, folks.
Hey.
medical people.
I had heard about it, but I did not look it
I
up.
hope you're impressed with me. I know what
I'm
that
impressed.
is.
I am impressed.
It's also a mosquito-borne illness. And then there's a whole debacle where Tom dies because
He has a heart attack.
she tries to save him with the, compressions and stuff.
Yeah.
Doesn't work. And then Rufus
He blamed her.
blamed her for it.
Which had nothing to do with her.
Yeah, no. He is not dealing with this well.
No.
Because in his mind, he was like, you're a fucking magician. You should just know how to fucking save people because you saved me this whole time. So he makes her work in the cornfields, which is fucking diabolical.
Yeah.
Rufus and Dana talk through his grief, and he knows she didn't actually kill his father. He admits he was just angry and wanted to make someone pay.
I'm sorry that I made you fucking suffer through a
I
cornfield.
knew the whole time that you didn't
And get
do
your
it.
and
ass
have
fucking
this dude
beat.
whip you and just fucking make you feel like the worst turd in the world. I'm sorry. Oh, fuck you.
Yep.
Fuck you, Rufus.
And then he was like, I came to get you. Not soon enough, I guess. No,
Yeah.
you should have never sent her out there, you asshole.
Fucking Rufus.
And he's like, hey, will you take care of my mom after that?
Mhm.
It's
Yeah,
like,
Margaret comes back, which I'm sure Dana's like, motherfucking goddamn.
she was.
Yeah.
It's like,
He's
of
like-
all the fucking people, but at least Margaret's a little bit more docile right now. But like,
Basically.
Jesus,
Because she's on laudanum and she's coked
Yeah.
out of her goddamn mind.
Yeah.
Oh.
She's
She's an opioid.
Riding the dragon there.
And she's still
chasing
like,
the dragon
she's
somewhere.
definitely a little bit more nice, but she's also like very racist still.
Yeah.
And
wow.
very like just not great.
Well, it kind of cracked me up. It cracked me up in a like, what the fuck way
Mhm.
of, he's like, hey, you know how I made you work out in the fields and like punished you and shit?
Oh god.
Sorry, I knew that you didn't actually do that. You want to take some more punishment?
Shh.
Take care of my
Just
mommy.
a little bit more.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck? so that's what she does. She takes care of her.
But in Margaret's mind, she's like, I bonded with you. We are good friends now. It's
Yeah.
like, no,
you're still a shit.
you're forcing this on me, and also I know who you are. Fucking shut the fuck up.
Yep.
But in her mind, she's like, I'm a great person,
Mm-hmm.
which is so fucked up.
Well, you know, she's on a lot of opioids.
Well, no, that's no excuse for her.
No, I mean,
that's no excuse for her.
I'm saying she's on a lot of opioids, and
I
that's
mean,
why
she's
she's
a-
probably like, I'm great now.
Yeah.
She's a fucked up white ass bitch.
Yeah.
That's what's going on.
So then they sell Tess.
Hmm.
And Rufus is like, well, no, my dad arranged that prior to his death. Dana tries to convince Rufus not to.
That was a very dramatic thing, actually.
was.
Like, we should not shed lightly on that. That was a very emotional
It
thing. Because,
was.
so what happened was after Tom passed away, like, it's a weird financial thing where
They didn't have the money.
they didn't have the money, so I don't
They weren't
think...
going to be able to keep the whole property.
I don't think Rufus wanted to sell people away, but he had to. And then there's an interaction with Dana and Tess where Tess is getting sold and she won't even like interact with Dana because Dana's like trying to help her and she's like, you can't help me. I'm being sold. Like, you cannot help me.
How could you do it? I hissed as he
Mm-hmm.
straightened. Tess, those others. They're my property.
Hmm.
I stared at him in disbelief. Oh my god. Were you guys surprised that he finally, like, admitted that he saw these people as property?
No.
No,
Me
not
either.
at all.
I was disappointed.
Dana was, though.
Yeah.
Because Dana is optimistic. But
Well, there was something she said a while back. I kept thinking I knew him, and he kept proving to me that I didn't.
yeah.
Yep.
No, she's getting more and more beat down, but remember, this person was not born and raised in the 1800s.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And she's coming back to it. Yeah. So it's...
And we've all met somebody like that, too, though. That we think we know. And then they just keep doing things where you're like, oh.
Why are you being a fucking bitch?
You're actually a shithead. You really had the wool down over my eyes for a while, though.
Yeah.
It's awful.
I knew that Dana was hopeful. But I also knew that I knew that he was not going to become the person that she thought. Like, I knew that she wanted to help him more than she thought she could. Mold him more than she thought she could. Be a better, give an impression on him that would last. But I'm like, I get where you're coming from. And me being an optimist, I would be that person too.
Me too.
But me reading this book as a person not in that situation, I'm like, no, this is a book. He's going to become a terrible person.
I'm a realist. And I was like, girl, you can try as hard as you can, but he's going to be who he's going to be. He has spent more time without her than he has with her. And I mean, his dad is such a huge influence in his life. Whether he
wants him to be or not.
Yeah, exactly. Way before she has ever even come on the scene.
A blip in the radar too. Like the times that she comes in, she's there and she makes an impact, but she's not there his whole life.
There's so many. Is it because he loves her? Is it because he cherishes what she says? Is it because he feels he can learn from her? Or is it because he can control her? Like, what is it?
That relationship's complicated.
Exactly. It's very complicated. And I feel like while he is open to listening to her, he's still going to do what he wants because in the time that he's in, he has all right to do whatever he wants. Mm-hmm. And while he knows how she might react, he's still going to do what he wants.
And then she says, I was beginning to feel like a traitor, guilty for saving him. Now I don't know what to feel. Somehow I always seem to forgive him for what he does to me. I can't hate him the way I should until I see him doing things to other people. I guess I can see why there are those here who think I'm more white than black.
And this is also the part of the book where I was like, okay, business-wise, Tom died. Mm-hmm. You have Rufus, who is how old? Like, not even in his early 20s?
Yeah,
early 20s?
I think he's early 20s.
So all these slaves are scared because they're like, what's going to happen to us? We have no idea. And they're like, they're not, they know that he's not going to be able to afford them. Mm-hmm. Which sounds fucking shitty.
Mm-hmm.
In that situation, this is such a fucked up thing because it's not acceptable. It's not okay in any way, shape, or form.
Nope.
But in this sense, there's this group of people who know at least where they are. They recognize their home. They've built a life to the best of their extent with the hands that they've been dealt, right? And something changes to the point that everyone could be sold at any minute.
Yeah.
And so their lives are completely kind of flipped upside down. Who's next? You know? Like, there's so much questioning there.
Turmoil.
Yeah. Yep. Rufus ends up defending his actions the best that Rufus can.
Rufus, fucking be better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Fucking Rufus. Come on, man.
And then he does something that I was like, oh my god, maybe he is going to be better.
Here's the thing. I knew that he wasn't because I'm like, this is not a romance novel. This is a reality. This is reality. Thing. It's a fantasy, but it's reality. Come on, people.
But he's got these times where he does this back and forth thing that made me so hopeful so many times in the book.
Rufus!
Yeah.
Just so disappointing.
So I'm getting too ahead of myself.
He pisses you off, and then he does something where you're like, oh, maybe you'll redeem yourself yet. And then he does something to piss you off, and you're like, oh.
You're like, nope.
And then he'll do something else, and you're like, oh,
he's not great.
Maybe he'll redeem yourself yet.
not great.
He's not.
He's not.
So what he does, though, after Tess is sold, is he asks for Dana's help to write letters to avoid having to sell anyone else to pay for his father's debts. He's like, I want to keep everybody together.
Which, what does that sound like? Whenever Kevin was trying to get her to type up his manuscripts, I was like, girl,
a little
this
bit,
is
but not.
I thought that was similar.
Similar, but not. Because, I don't think it's the same.
I think it's similar, but I don't think she had much of an option to just like say
she can't say no here.
Well,
and I don't think she would have here.
But I'm just saying
more at risk.
I'm just saying the equivalent though.
Rufus knows. I know it's fucked. But in some ways I think that Rufus is asking her something better because he knows she likes to write. He knows that she's an intelligent woman and can write things in a way that are more convincing than what he could, which is why he requests her help.
But can you not ignore the similarities, is what I'm saying.
I think I can in this sense. I actually think what...
Girl.
I know.
No, I like, whenever that happened, I'm like, this is very similar to the Kevin transcripts.
I don't know.
I'm getting a similarity.
I mean, maybe there's some similarities in the fact that they were asking for something, but I think what Rufus is asking is actually less...
asking for something.
I think it's less fucked up what Rufus is asking.
I feel like Sam's kind of acknowledging my presence.
Then what?
She was like, she's playing a game on her phone right now.
I'm watching a video of a tiny ass terrarium. Okay, but I feel like she didn't want to, but maybe he was trying to make it seem like it was not only for him, but also to prevent others from being sold, and which he knows she's gonna do anything to help that. Yeah.
But what I'm saying
that's the way he gets power over her.
I think there is a meaning behind the Kevin and the Rufus.
Maybe.
Maybe. Not that Kevin's as bad as Rufus, but I think that there is a similarity. Otherwise, why would she have put that in the book? Girls.
I really truly think.
I don't think it was that deep.
I don't. I really truly think.
Okay, fine, whatever. Well, I will find other people.
Well, it's like, fucking fine!
I am going to overthink this forever, and I don't care what you think.
That's fine.
I really think the reason she put the thing in about Kevin earlier in the book was to kind of give the reader the sense that he might end up a bad guy later.
Yeah.
I really think she was
maybe
painting
that,
him
but
out
also
early.
like cyclical shit.
Maybe
cyclical shit.
Dana had 2 children who died.
Dana.
Not Dana. Guys, I'm very tired.
Alice
had 2 children that died, and Alice blames Rufus. She's like very angry with him. She also has a son named Joe.
Well, there's a whole conversation about that where like
Page
Dana and
231.
Rufus kind of talk, and she's like, you're lucky that you have kids that, and he's like, oh yeah. So he starts having a little bit more interest in them because of Dana, I think. Yeah. And then she also talks about, hey, you should free them. Yeah. You should give them freedom.
Well, it's just
and he's
Joe
like,
at this time.
He's like, well, but Alice is pregnant.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah. We'll see. He's doing a little power move kind of thing.
Ho hum, maybe not.
Ho hum. But Dana's trying to instill that, like, you need to free your kids. Yeah. They're your kids.
Be a not shit person. Yeah. But he kept saying that, I think, just to hold it over her head. Yeah. And then was like, maybe I'll do it, maybe I won't. I don't know. But...
Yep. Power fucking move.
So Hagar is born.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's a terrible
Which is
that's the baby that she wants. That's the baby she's been like.
That's her like great grandmother or whatever.
Yeah. Yep. Grandma Hagar. Rufus tells Dana he's gonna free Joe. Rufus lets Dana. This is where things start looking like, oh, maybe there will be a happy ending to this story. Yeah. This is where you're like, okay, Rufus, maybe.
There's no happy ending.
You
to
keep
this one.
thinking, like,
This
maybe
is a
Rufus...
Liquor and Literature podcast episode. There's no happy ending to this story.
It's like, okay, Rufus, maybe positive things. And then you open to the next chapter and it's called The Rope and you're like, never mind.
JK.
So Rufus lets Dana teach Nigel's 2 older sons and 2 other children who served at the table to read along with Joe.
Mm-hmm.
Sam asks Dana to teach his siblings to read. Sam's like the one guy that men are, they were at like the corn shucking convention or whatever.
We kind of brushed off that, but there was a little event where Dana was talking to, his name's Sam? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Sam. And Rufus got a little jealous. And Dana kind of realized that and was like, hey, don't talk to me because I know how ruthless this guy could be. Don't talk to me.
Yeah.
And then he approached her again.
To ask.
Now.
For
Just
her
to
to
have
read.
a conversation.
Well, he was asking Dana to teach his siblings how to
Yeah.
Yeah.
A normal fucking goddamn conversation. And she's like, no. Okay.
I'll teach him to
Let's
read, but
talk,
also,
but,
like, fuck off.
Hey, get away. And then the next day or 2 days, he was sold.
Mm-hmm.
Because Rufus is a fucking asshole.
I also think that like Rufus took an extreme way to like avoid someone else trying to take Dana from him, which I don't think he even should have been afraid because he knew that she loved Kevin and she didn't want anyone but Kevin. So it's like, why are you punishing this guy just because he's interested?
He's so afraid of abandonment.
He's
Jealousy.
so insecure. as
Jealousy
well.
and insecurity and woohoo!
Yeah.
Jojo and Rufus are pretty similar.
Yeah.
So at the end of this, Rufus sells Sam, Dana protests, Rufus hits Dana, and Dana cuts her wrists to go back home.
Honestly, out of all the books that we've covered, we've not quoted a lot of this because it's very harsh.
Yeah.
It was hard to read at times. Like, I had to put it down and come back a couple times.
And we're
'cause it
not
was just so...
summarizing it because we're being, not...
It's not that we're not trying to include the harsh realities of how things could have been. It is that
Yes.
it is so uncomfortable that I don't know that we would like to read all of it again. We've already read it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It was
like
very
reading
hard to
yourself,
read.
it's great to read.
It's a wonderful book.
I mean,
It
it's
is
not
a great
great
book,
to
yeah.
read, but it's a good book to read, but we don't feel like we feel comfortable quoting some of these. So,
Yeah. We've already actually
Yep.
quoted a few things that were very uncomfortable to
yes.
quote
Mhm.
today.
But it is a very powerful book.
Mm-hmm.
Where were we at?
Now we're at the rope.
Oh my god! Okay, last chapter before the epilogue is called The Rope. So basically,
She's back with Kevin for a minute, right?
for a while,
Mm.
but then
well,
she
they
goes,
had to call a psychiatrist over to wrap her wrists because remember she'd cut her wrists to get
Mhm.
home. Right?
yeah, yep.
And Kevin's like, what did
But he
say?
knows it's not like.
Oh yeah, well, because the guy's like, she really should go to a mental health clinic after this, and Kevin's like, maybe you should, and she's like, what the fuck? And he's like, not really.
Psych!
Just kidding.
Yeah. It's like I just have to say that because the doctor,
Yeah.
Mhm.
But that kind of tickled me. He's
But-
like, what would you even fucking say?
right?
Yep.
And she was afraid of like disappearing.
Yeah.
Well, she's the hospital too.
But she does have a deep conversation with Kevin about Rufus.
Yes.
Do you remember that conversation? I was like, I
I've
was
got it.
reading it. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't even wrap my mind around
I was
this.
a little
but
pissed off about the whole entire thing, but I guess I could kind of see
Tell
where
us,
he was
Sam.
coming from.
Tell us, Sam.
He basically accused her of sleeping with Rufus and having
Mm.
feelings for Rufus.
Yeah.
And she's like, are you effing kidding me? Like, he didn't want anything to do with me like that. Like, I basically.
Well, because she's never thought of him that way. But
Right.
think about it this way, though. She has never, like, in the span of time, she stayed consistent 26-year-old. He is now at that 26, 30-year-old age.
And he's also had Alice to
Which is
entertain
weird.
himself with.
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, that's what he was doing.
His relationship with her is interesting.
It also has to do with like the verbiage that Rufus used at the time that Kevin and her came back together, because when he was holding a gun on them, basically.
Yeah.
You're not going to leave me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like it took Kevin a
He's like,
little
that
bit.
Kevin. He's like, I don't want that Kevin to be around. Like he's possessive.
Well, it took Kevin a little bit to even think about it, but it just kept bothering him, and the more he thought about it, the more he was like, well, maybe there is something. And then I think maybe he was thinking that he had forced himself upon Dana at one point or something.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, do you honestly think he would be alive for me to keep going back to?
Yeah. And he's like, oh, you're right. You would have fucking punched him in that dick.
He's like, fair. You know,
boiled penis.
Eventually, it got through his head that was not a thing.
Yep.
According to Dana, which it was not a thing. And it wasn't even really on the table to be a thing until she goes back in time for the last and final time.
She sees Rufus and he's very upset, and he kind of like, I don't know, they pick each other up, and she's walking towards the barn, and she's like,
Because that's where he was taking her.
there is a body hanging there. Oh, shit. It's Alice.
And he
So-
like basically just shuts the door of the barn and leaves her in there. And I
Yep.
was like, bro.
Yeah, he's being very not great.
No.
Well, he's very distressed and upset, and he's absolutely not really responding to anything.
Yeah.
He like can't even tell her what happened.
yeah.
And I think it's some kind of a sense of guilt almost, but I don't. His fucking response to all this is just sickening.
And also his relationship with Dana is very dependent. So it's like, I am hurting right now. I'm going to bring you back, and you're going to have to deal with this suffrage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, do you realize what you did? Because basically, so they have a conversation, and she tells Sarah about it. And basically what happened was Rufus was going to free his children, but he did not tell Alice that.
She ran off and he got pissed.
Yes.
So he said that he was going to sell the kids, but he didn't sell them. He just
sent
sent them to Baltimore
Yep, that's what it was.
with his mom and aunt or whatever. And
Yep.
she didn't know he didn't sell them.
Yep.
He was going to bring them back eventually. And she killed herself because she thought her children were gone.
So basically, he caused her demise, but he will never, ever, ever, ever admit to that.
She ran away. I know. We were getting along, you know. You were here. It was good. Once when you were gone, she came to my room. She came on her own. Ruth? Everything was all right. I even went on with Joe's lessons. Me! I told her I would free both of them. She didn't believe you. You wouldn't put anything into writing. I would have. I shrugged. Where are the children, Ruth? In Baltimore with my mother's sister. But why? To punish her, scare her, to make her see what could happen if she tried to leave me. So that's why he did it.
Yep.
He just, again,
To prove to her what would happen if
Mhm.
she tried to leave him.
and again, it's that abandonment shit. And
So
he just completely
fucking
fucks himself over and over.
Toxic.
He could take away the only thing that she actually cared about. And
It's a power thing.
yeah.
But the thing is, if he'd have just, because I really don't think Alice would have run off if she thought that her kids could have been freed.
Oh, yeah. No.
Yeah.
It was definitely, he fucking made that happen.
He fucked himself.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
And I think he knows that he will never admit
Yeah.
that because
Yeah.
he's a fucking frail
He
fucking man.
The source
But
of
he
his own
will
demise.
never admit that.
Yep.
He totally made that happen.
Well,
That was so unnecessary.
Over and over, he is completely the source of his own misery.
That was the most tragic part of this whole thing.
Yeah.
Well, then Dana also tells him that, like, well, you said you're gonna free these children, you better freaking do it. And basically forces him to go to Baltimore to get his kids and make sure they have freedom, papers and everything. And when they come back, then Joe, the little boy, was calling him daddy. And Dana kind of looked at him like, huh. Which before, the children had called him master.
So he said something. He said, Aunt Dana, and a hug later. I can read better now. Daddy's been teaching me. Want to hear? Sure I do. I looked up at Rufus. Daddy? He glared at me tight-lipped as though daring me to speak. All I had wanted to say, though, was, what took you so long?
Mm-hmm.
The boy had spent his short life calling his father master. Well, now that he no longer had a mother, I supposed Rufus thought it was time he had a father. I managed to smile at Rufus, a real smile. I didn't want him feeling embarrassed or defensive for finally acknowledging his son.
So basically, the funeral happens.
And they say a bunch of fucked up shit at Alice's funeral. You know, the shit people say after someone dies by suicide.
And Dana does not approach Rufus. Rufus approaches her.
Mm-hmm.
Both times. Both times. There's like 2 times where he comes up to her and he's like, hey... And he's doing it in a very not great way. And he's like, I'm very lonely and I want to... And he's like, I just need some kind of comfort.
She's basically like, find comfort in your children. Like, hang out with them. Love your children.
Because he's trying to force himself on her. And she's like, no, that's not what I've never been that to you.
Well, he's trying
I'm never going to be that to you.
keep her
he's
around
like, no.
as, like, the mother of his kids. And she's like, no.
He's talking about, he's like, you and Alice were the same person. Like, Alice is gone. You need to replace her. And she's like, no, I don't need to replace her. That's not who I am.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go back to my time. And he's like, no, you can't leave me. You can't leave me. And he's like freaking out. It's an interesting situation.
Well, he gets her up into the attic, right?
Yeah.
She's in the attic.
Because she wants to go get her knife because she doesn't feel comfortable.
Because he was starting to get sexual.
He pushed me back on the pallet, and for a few moments we lay there still. What was he waiting for? What was I waiting for? He lay his head on my shoulder, his left arm around me, his right hand still holding my hand. And slowly, I realized how easy it would be for me to continue to be still and forgive him even this. So easy in spite of all my talk, but it would be so hard to raise the knife, drive it into the flesh I had saved so many times, so hard to kill.
It's not a romantic thing. It's a
kindred thing.
It is. It is exactly that.
Apropos.
It's Jesus.
Sam with her foot jacket.
So it's something like she just has a connection. I don't know how deep it runs. It has to be almost motherly because she's watched this young man grow up. She's tried very hard. I cannot imagine what that would be like. Basically being a mother to this boy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Watching him grow up.
They're like literally the same age.
They are
now.
At this point. And
him being sexual to her, like,
it's probably awkward as fuck.
Averse, and they're like
but
related.
Also such a great like insult.
Yeah.
Because all this time.
No, the whole time she's like, he would never have thought of me as that. And like, there's a point where she's like that paragraph that you read. She switches. He's like, oh, he would never. No, he is a slave owner. She switches. She
does, but it takes her a minute, and there's that pause. There's that reluctance to do anything about it. And she said, I could forgive him even this. And then she has to really convince herself and recognize how toxic that relationship is. Recognizing that this is not healthy. This is really fucked. And realizing, having that sudden realization of, I have to do something or I am going to be stuck here forever.
Well, and also the slip of like anyone could be victim to that kind of fucking relationship. Like, and seeing, I don't know, that mental, like, the wording that she did, and where she's like, I'm doing this, no! And she snapped out of it. I was like, fuck yeah, girl.
It was really hard
that was very,
to read that.
That was empowering. But, I mean, it was probably very hard for her to type that.
I'm
and
sure
write
it was.
that. But then she knew, snap out of it.
So he tries to rape her. He does. He's pawing at her and all of this, and she ends up stabbing him. She said, I could feel the knife in my hand, still slippery with perspiration. A slave was a slave. Anything could be done to her. And Rufus was Rufus, erratic, alternately generous and vicious. I could accept him as my ancestor, my younger brother, my friend, but not as my master and not as my lover. He had understood that once.
So she vanishes and goes back to her own time, but damned if she do and damned if she don't. Her arm is literally stuck in
so let's talk about
the
that.
wall.
So the epilogue. So she ends up going back home, but her fucking arm's like in her wall.
Yeah, it's like stuck in the plaster and the brick. And...
Which is great. Okay, here's what's weird. Break that fucking wall. Don't break that fucking arm.
Well, I don't think...
Why did she have to lose her arm?
Because Rufus was still holding on to it.
Yeah, I don't think it was really in the wall.
So there was
It was half deformed or something?
There was no way for her to break that connection. I don't think it was actually in the wall either.
I think it was with Rufus.
Because the way
she
that
like
I
left
read
it behind,
was like
I guess.
She was like literally like in the plaster of the wall.
I think that's what she felt, maybe, and maybe a little bit, but I don't think her whole arm was in the wall.
So she gave herself a little bit of herself to Rufus.
Yes. And
interesting. I thought that she literally like woke up and was like, holy shit, I can't move out of this wall.
It's
like why don't you just like bust up in the wall?
It's like symbolism of him not willing to let go and her having to sever that connection by severing her arm.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sam.
You're welcome.
Yes. You're so smart. You're so smart with your fur coat.
Well, first I was like, the fuck? And then I was like, oh.
Yeah. Oh, it turns out it's symbolism.
Yeah.
Symbolism.
So then they do research and they find out that Joe and Hagar are free.
Yes.
And that everybody's sold pretty much.
Except for Nigel and Carrie.
Yep.
So it's kind of closure for her because it's like, well.
Sad closure.
And Nigel set fire to the damn house to cover up the fact that Rufus was like murdered. Yeah. Nobody knew anything the difference. And I was like, good for you, Nigel.
So this podcast recording was very long. So let's take a break and we'll get back to it after this. All right. So this is the media portion of the podcast. There was a 2022 FX mini series on Hulu about Kindred. Unfortunately, it got canceled. So it definitely ended on a cliffhanger.
It was some bullshit.
Amber, what do you think about that?
Apparently bullshit.
It was some fucking bullshit.
I watched it too, but I was like, dang it! There was so much more that it could have done.
There was, or alternatively, I don't know, they could have stuck to the fucking book and finished it in 8 episodes.
No, I kind of like that they expanded because I
did, but I didn't. Because I was like, but you got canceled.
Here, Amber, let me go on. I should have let me talk more. Before.
Sorry.
No. It's my fault.
It's my fault for you interrupting me.
No.
I did not.
No, I wanted your conversation.
I did not watch this, so I have literally no comment.
Sam's
No,
like,
it really
I'm gonna
sucks.
play Tetris.
Especially like it's infuriating because you know where the story could go, and also I see what they were doing. They were expanding the story.
Oh, I know what they were doing. They were making money.
Yeah. No. So
Why stop at 8 episodes when I could have 3 or 4 seasons and get millions more?
millions more. So it stars Mallory Johnson, Mika Stock, Ryan Quanten. He was the little bimbo dude in True Blood. Do you guys watch True Blood?
No.
Oh, he's a little cutie in True Blood, but he's the guy that plays
Kevin?
No.
Rufus?
He's the guy that plays Rufus's dad.
Oh, Tom
In
Whalen.
this, he's not hot in this, but he is very hot in True Blood.
I could see him being a handsome guy.
He's cute. He's Australian.
Although I will say that the like vesty things of the time are a weird thing for me. I don't know what that is, but I'm like, yeah, all right.
Well,
Civil War vests. Hot.
Gail Rankin from Glow. Do you guys watch Glow?
I have, but I could not tell you which one that is.
The Wolf Lady?
Not watched it.
Glow's amazing. If you hadn't watched it. It's the female wrestling.
I'm probably not going to watch this.
No, you should.
It's funny, actually.
It's 80s female wrestling. It's amazing. Austin Smith plays Luke. He was gorgeous.
It seemed like I remember going, oh, when he came on screen. But
Okay, your mom.
Hello.
All right.
Hello.
I did not like Rufus's portrayal. He was a redhead little child,
He was kind
but
of a
like
little shit.
I don't know. He didn't really portray him very well. So I was like, eh.
I think they wanted him to seem more innocent in the show.
Well, yeah, but also like he was not a good actor.
You know.
I don't think.
I mean, I feel like it was cheap B shit, so...
Well, that's the thing.
I think
That's a
a
part
lot
of
of
it.
it.
So it takes place in 2016, actually. Instead of
Or instead of
1976. There's small differences.
There were quite a few.
There's a lot of different, but it does expand on like why she's going back in time because her mom did and all this stuff.
Yeah.
It's like a whole.
There was
like,
another layer to it.
There's another layer to it.
Like her mom started zapping back to at this like same age or some shit.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Like
and that's why her parents died.
Yeah.
They
but
were driving.
her mom didn't really die.
Yeah.
In a car accident. It was like,
Yeah.
oh, well,
Her
they're
dad
driving.
died in an accident.
Her mom's body was never recovered.
And her mom was driving the car and she was zapped back to the 1800s.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you
it
meet
was the
her
whole
mom in the show.
thing. And it's not Alice's mom, but
It's different characters, yeah.
yeah, it's different. It's weird. It's odd. But
And I did not like Kevin.
I didn't dislike he was just kind of a goofy motherfucker, wasn't he?
I did like that they cast him as like a normal dude, but also like I was like, what is this guy doing?
Yeah. Basically, like they made it. He's kind of charming. He was kind of annoying.
Yeah.
But there was so the first scene that we meet him in, where he's like in the restaurant and he's like announcing himself of like,
Because
I will help you.
also,
That was charming.
They do not get married. They like it's literally
like a
first
one night
date.
stand.
Yeah.
It's like
And
it's a
then he's
one
like,
night stand.
I 100% know what you're talking about. It's very weird.
It's super weird. It's like, hey chick, I just met you and you could be totally insane, but yes, I believe that you just zapped back to the 1800s and in seconds came back and are here with me now.
Yeah. One thing I did like about it though was the nosy neighbor aspect of it. Those guys were
They were
fucking annoying.
Okay, so here's the thing.
Oh my god. Because it's like in California and there's these two neighbors and they're like, this is a quiet neighborhood, and there's this like one lady that keeps on like knocking on it, like, are you okay? And like sees Dana like kind of kerfuffled, and she's like, what's going on? I'm gonna make a statement. And her husband's like, let's just calm down. She's like, no, we're gonna make this a thing about me.
Well, okay. So a couple things though with that.
Sam's like, what's going on?
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I'm watching chicken videos.
That dynamic, they are both the worst.
I know, but
and the best neighbors, yes, because they're the kind of people like you see something, you say something. They are those people, but they're the worst kind of people.
Like she knew something was going on, but she went to the like.
She was just a bitch about it.
Yeah.
But they were very accusing, and I think that's what it was.
She wanted to be a savior.
Yes, she was very much that.
And that's what I was like, oh, I kind of like that they did that aspect, because in the book, they didn't really have that aspect.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
It was a confrontational. She was very confrontational instead of inquisitive.
Yeah.
And I think that's the issue there.
So unfortunately, it got canceled. There's only 8 episodes right now. But I have details for you.
Okay.
So there's a Deadline article that says, launching to largely positive reviews, Kindred had not been able to create buzz the way fellow new 2022 FX scripted series The Bear has done.
I mean, The Bear was pretty great.
I love The Bear.
That's what
I
I've
don't
heard.
care.
Yeah. I tried to watch it and I couldn't, because I'm like, there's too much yelling. I can't. There's too much yelling. I can't.
Oh, from working in kitchens and stuff, I'm like, this is so realistic.
Shut down. I couldn't do it. So they're comparing this to The Bear, which I'm like,
Well, they came out at the same time as probably
around
what
the same
happened.
time, yeah.
Okay.
Quote, it is very rare for FX to cancel a series after one season. The network is known for carefully curating its slate and taking time to develop projects, sometimes redoing a pilot, and most of its shows stick around for a while. Cosmopolitan article. This might not be the end of the series, considering showrunner Brandon Jacobs Jenkins already has plans for a season 2, and more, it's likely that he'll shop the series to other networks. So I think that FX was kind of like, we're done. Mm-hmm. So he's shopping around for other networks. So I think it's going to happen.
I mean,
maybe.
So I hope that it happens, but my feelings on it are, it wasn't super well done. It wasn't poorly done.
The production value was not.
It was low production value.
I don't want to be the snooty film person, but like watching it, I'm like,
I'm very aware.
This could have been done better. This could have been done better. This could have been done. Like I was like, this could have been done better.
I agree.
And it's probably because of budget, but also
I think it was budget stuff.
And you know what? Would I have watched this if I did not know about the book? Probably not.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Well, and most of the things that I read about like people trying to get it back and stuff, they were people who really loved the book.
One also think about the context of what it is about. That's hard things to watch. So if it's not done right, and like those are hard things. Yeah. So if it's not done aesthetically right, it's going to be people are not going to want to watch it. They're not going to give it the time of day.
Oh, no, I agree. It just wasn't as well done as it could have been. I didn't mind it. I liked parts of it.
Yeah.
Sam's ready to go to bed. She just gave the look, dude.
Well, anyway, there is, if you want, there is a GoFundMe. Amber showed me this. There's a GoFundMe to keep KindredChange.org link going. I don't think it's going to do anything. You can just sign a petition. Because, like, I don't think that's going to do any good, but might as well kind of click it, whatever. If you watched it and you're like, I want more of this, then do it. Shit. I mean, it is a story that needs to be told. I just think it needs to be told
Better.
in a different
Like correctly?
way. Yeah. And then I will leave you with this. There's an Esquire article. Octavia Butler, Hive Rise Up, it says. After decades of being underappreciated, underadopted, the legendary science fiction writer has finally taken the screen by storm. Kindred has landed on FX. R.I.P. While adaptations of Fledgling, Wild Seed, and Dawn are also coming to a small screen. Meanwhile, Parable of the Sour currently is in the pipeline on A24. So there are other works from her that you could check out if you want, I think. So, I have never heard of any of those, but you know what? I would definitely read more of her stuff, and I would definitely check out some of the movie adaptations. So, we are very tired, and this is Liquor and Literature Podcast. So, as Sam plays her little gremlin game and Amber checks on her texts, why don't we sign off?
Okay.
Keep
the pages turning and the drinks flowing. Who's all?
Goodbye.
Good night.
Audio engineering, logo creation, and social media content was produced by Lauren Rainey with Rainey Film and Video. Stock music tracks have been provided by Motion Array and Adobe Stock. Find us on Facebook and Instagram at Liquor Literature Podcast, where you can dive into more details about the books, authors, and movies we cover. You can find all of our episodes at liquorliteraturepodcast.podbean.com. Until next time, keep the pages turning and the drinks flowing.